It is Tuesday, and thank you for joining us this afternoon here on Live Impact News on WCNC. Plus, I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right across from me is the lovely and great producer, Carlene Bragg.
Hi, welcome back.
You welcome back as well.
We're both back.
She was off yesterday, too.
I was.
It was one of those things where I got into the studio, got into the chair, and I'm like, how do we do this again?
Yep.
And that's just off of a 3-day weekend.
Yep.
So glad to be back. I always say this, we have a busy afternoon. So many things happen. Just to give you a peek behind the curtain, every time Carlene and I talk after the morning stream, we always sort of game plan and strategize what we're going to do for the show, and then things happen.
Yeah.
Things happen.
It always changes.
And we adjust. And that's the beauty of Live Impact News. As soon as breaking news happens, development stories happen. More information from, again, developing stories.
Yes.
We try to bring it to you here, and we will bring it to you here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Let's look to some breaking news. We just got this in a few moments ago. We have some breaking news in Kings Mountain. So we do know, and this is confirmed from Kings Mountain Police, there was a deadly industrial accident there in Kings Mountain. Here's a map of where it happened. So according to Kings Mountain PD, they told us, quote, I can confirm that we did respond to NVR Building Products. You see it right there on your map. That is located on 132 Riverside Court in Kings Mountain. And they were responded to a industrial workplace accident involving a fatality. They are preparing to send out more information in the form of a media release. But as far as we know, there was a workplace accident, a deadly workplace accident there at NVR Building Products Incorporated. So we did some digging. We pull up their website. NVR appears to be a home manufacturing plant. Scrolling through the website, NVR Incorporated builds homes in 36 metropolitan areas in 16 states, in North Carolina being one of them. And just doing some brief browsing on their website just to give you some background on who they are. NVR Incorporated operates in 2 business segments: home building and mortgage banking. Again, there is this facility here in Kings Mountain, and as far as we know from Kings Mountain Police, a deadly industrial accident. That investigation is underway. As soon as we get more information, we have very limited information right now. As soon as we get more information on this, we will pass this along to you, like we always do here on Live Impact News. All right, so let's shift away from that breaking news and let's come back to Charlotte. So it has been, it's been a tumultuous past few weeks. It's been a lot going on when it comes to city council. So let's start from the beginning. Should we start from the beginning? Or
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we would take the whole time.
But let's go from our last breaking story. Councilwoman Tijuana Brown facing a federal indictment. She had a news conference last Thursday, appeared in federal court on Friday. Over charges for fraud related to COVID-19 relief programs. Then yesterday, I know I'm kind of hopping on the timeline a bit, but CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings announced his resignation and the details of his payout. We actually had the journalist that broke the story here on Live Impact News. That Johnny Jennings situation, Chief Jennings situation, playing out before that with a payout, stories of a payout coming out, text messages between Council Member Tart Bakari over out of carrier vest. In between that, we got a new city council person, Edwin Peacock. A lot. How did I do, Julie?
I really enjoyed that.
Okay. I know it's kind of hopping the timeline a bit, but
it was nice to hear someone else say it.
Okay.
I've been doing this for weeks now, and that was refreshing.
Okay, did it make sense though?
Yes. I think the general consensus we're hearing is there's so much going on. A lot of them intertwine. For example, Tark Bakari left, and that's why Edwin Peacock had to fill this seat temporarily. This information about this payout from Johnny Jennings that was released because of the pushback over this settlement over text from Tark Bakari. I will say the Tijuana Brown thing is entirely separate, but all of these things are what we're looking at tonight at City Council.
This is the first City Council meeting since a lot of this stuff sort of unfolded?
Since a lot of the big stuff. So we knew about the allegations of corruption and allegations of some form of settlement that was alleged at the time to be about those text messages from Tark Bakari to Johnny Jennings over those outer carrier vests. That information that's new is the fact that that is an agreement from the city with Johnny Jennings for his retirement. So that's new information. The Tijuana Brown indictment is entirely new information. And we were dealing with all this already. I remember I was at that city council meeting where the mayor and multiple council members had a public discussion about what that looks like going forward and transparency. And here we are weeks later where we've had a little bit of that transparency, but we've also had some more elements added to it. So there's just a lot to look at. I'm curious to see if they're going to address it in the same way right at the beginning of the meeting like they did last time, or if they're just going to try and move forward. It's a big agenda, so we'll see.
It's a big agenda. They have a lot to get to. We were talking about this after the morning editorial meeting, but it's the elephant in the room. It's bigger than an elephant at this point. We were talking about this after the meeting. You've been trying to get in touch with a number of the city council, all of the city council members, quite frankly, and they were supposed to meet with airport workers today. Can you take me through that? Because you were hoping that would be an opportunity to see them
Yes.
face to face, right?
Yeah, and I have not gotten a hold of any city council members to talk about this since this news all broke over the weekend. Again, yesterday was Memorial Day. Of course, this initially broke on a Sunday, so that's not too surprising. At this point, I would have hoped to hear back from someone, but we're going to try again.
Yeah.
Today at 11, airport workers were planning to meet at the government center where city council's offices are and the mayor's offices. This is not the first time they are pushing for a case ordinance, which would essentially be higher pay to help with their really high turnover rate. Anyone who's been to the Charlotte airport knows that there's some difficulties. It's a big airport, lots to do. And so they're saying if we had higher pay, we'd be able to keep people on longer and hopefully would be a smoother experience for everyone involved in the city of Charlotte. So they actually had letters that they hand wrote, hundreds of letters from airport workers describing their experiences and why this case ordinance would be so important to them. For example, I talked to one man who his job is to help people who are in wheelchairs get from point A to point B. He says, I have to usually push 2 people at a time. And that is obviously a very stark image of just what that looks like. Of course, when we're dealing with staffing shortages, that kind of impacts communities like that first. And so that's a very telling image. However, and I don't believe necessarily that Charlotte City Council RSVP'd to this, but they did have quite a bit of heads up. I've been getting emails about this for a couple days, if not over a week, from their PR person or their communications person, and they were expecting someone to at least be there, considering there was a City Council meeting later that night, still is, and they were hoping to hand deliver them, but at some point they got word that none of them were there and no one was coming down. For someone who has not been to the government center before, you cannot just go upstairs. You have to have a key card. Of course, for security reasons, you couldn't just show up and deliver it to their office. So they stayed in the lobby and we talked to them there. But I asked them, I said, hey, are you worried that this drama that's going on is going to impede council's ability to actually get through stuff on the agenda? This isn't necessarily on the agenda, it's on public forum agenda. They plan to talk about it there, and I'm sure they're going to bring up the fact that we wanted to deliver these letters to you and you didn't show up. But that was kind of the consensus I was getting, and I'm wondering if that's what we're going to hear tonight at public forum from all sorts of different reasons that people are speaking, is it might come back to, we need you guys to, I guess, get past this in whatever sense you can, whatever that looks like, so that we can actually get stuff done. There's a lot on the agenda tonight. For example, things that would normally warrant a story on their own. They are updating their energy action plan, most likely. They're going to vote on that. So things that would be their own story already are kind of getting overshadowed by these multiple other angles going on.
Anything on that agenda that sticks out that is sort of the biggest priority right now when it comes to business matters at hand, right?
I do think that action plan is going to be very big. They've been talking about it for a while. It's something they originally voted on in 2018, and this is an update to that. So this is a very long-term strategy that they are updating, and there was quite a bit of discussion on it last time. Of course, development in Charlotte, there's always development on the agenda. So, and our development reporter, Walker Lawson, will probably be following up on that in the next couple days to see what they do. But a lot of that, and then, of course, the public forum. We expect a lot of concerns to be brought up, things that may not be on the agenda, but anytime we get a chance for the public to speak, especially with what's going on right now, I think that's what we'll be paying attention to.
If you do get a chance to speak with somebody, I know you're going to be there at the government center ahead of the meeting, someone on city council,
Yes.
I should preference. What's that first question you ask them? Because, I mean, you've been trying to get in touch with them. What do you ask them?
I think at this point, what everyone seems to want to know, the most impactful question is, how do we get past this?
Yeah.
Kind of what we were just talking about. How do we actually get work done while this is going on? Tijuana Brown has made her stance very clear. I'm not resigning. I'm going to run again. Of course, if she is found guilty, she will not be eligible to hold that seat. So we'll have to deal with a whole other filling in of that seat. But, cross that bridge when we get there. She's made her position incredibly clear. I don't know how long a trial might take, but that's something we're looking at in the coming days or in the coming months. But the immediate impact is what now? And I think that's what people are really going to want to hear. How do we get past this? I actually texted former Mayor Jennifer Roberts and I said,
oh, yes, yeah.
What do you think about this? So she mentioned, transparency has always been a big part of her platform. And there's a lot of really good people, she said, working on these plans. We're in budget season right now. We're not voting on it tonight, but the following meeting in 2 weeks, I believe, or maybe 1 week, is when that budget will be voted on. That's a huge concern for everybody right now. She said, yes, we're going to get through this. Yes, there are good people working on this, but maybe there are some things that can make information a little bit more accessible that would help. She mentioned maybe adding someone into that budget who is solely responsible for FOIA requests or Freedom of Information Act requests. Those, for example, that's how we get documents from the city. That's how we get contracts, how we get closed meeting minutes if we're able to get them. So that having that in a timely manner for any of the stations, any of the organizations, news organizations in Charlotte would kind of expedite that process. And she mentioned a couple of other things that were all very transparency focused. I know the city attorney was originally very clear that like this, because it's personnel matters, is not subject to a Freedom of Information Act request. That later he had to work with Jennings to be able to release that information from Jennings, not from the city. She mentioned some clarification on what that means and how that happened, because there appears to be some sort of disagreement. So I think that is kind of where people are looking next. How do we move forward with transparency, and how are we able to get information a little bit faster going forward?
Julie Kay, you have your hands full. You have your hands full, but you're doing incredible work. And we chat about it from time to time. It is a lot going on, but you've been doing a great job.
Thank you.
Reporting on it.
Keeps it interesting.
It does keep it interesting. Julie, when are you live during the newscast so people can catch you?
We'll be at 5 and 6 right as that meeting gets started.
Okay. She's live at 5 and 6, and you can catch up on all of that's happened with City Council. Go on our website right now, WCNC.com. Download our app, WCNC Charlotte mobile app. Julie, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Whew, yeah, that is it's been a lot. It's been a busy week.
A lot to swallow.
It's been a lot. All right, so where do you want to go to next?
We have an update
have-
to that breaking news
Okay.
from Kings Mountain. If you go to your teams, I
All right.
tagged something. We can update the people with some brand new information about a victim
All right,
in
so
this industrial accident.
This is what happens when we have with Live Impact News, when we have breaking news, reading stuff in real time. So bear with me for a second. So if you remember from the beginning of the show, we had a deadly industrial accident that was reported from Kings Mountain Police. So we have this update from Kings Mountain Police. It reads, I want to read the full press release. All right, here's what it says. On Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, at 9:10 a.m., emergency personnel from the Kings Mountain Police Department, Kings Mountain Fire Department, and Cleveland County EMS responded to a reported cardiac arrest at MVR Building Products located at 132 Riverside Court, Kings Mountain, North Carolina. The caller indicated that a 67-year-old male was not breathing. Upon arrival, first responders determined that an industrial incident had occurred. Unfortunately, the victim sustained fatal injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. Cleveland County chaplain was requested and responded to provide support. The individual has been identified as 67-year-old Willie Victor Carmona of Gastonia, North Carolina. His family has been notified at this time. Preliminary findings do not indicate foul play. However, the scene remains active and under investigation. The North Carolina Department of Labor has been notified and is assisting with the investigation to determine the circumstances surrounding the incident. Further information will be released as it becomes available. So here is an update in this industrial accident, workplace accident there at NVR Building Products there in Kings Mountain. Again, just want to go over it again because I know there's a lot of information I threw at you from this press release, but let's go over it again. So this morning at around 9 a.m., a little after 9 a.m., emergency personnel from Kings Mountain Police Department, Kings Mountain Fire Department, and Cleveland County EMS responded to a reported cardiac arrest at NVR Building Products located at 132 Riverside Court, Kings Mountain, North Carolina. Now, the caller indicated that a 67-year-old male was not breathing. Upon arrival, first responders determined that an industrial incident had occurred. Unfortunately, the victim sustained fatal injuries and was pronounced deceased at the scene. So he died there at the scene. Now, Cleveland County chaplain was requested and responded to provide support. The individual has been identified as 67-year-old Willie Victor Carmona of Gastonia, North Carolina. His family has been notified, and at this time, preliminary findings do not indicate foul play. However, the scene remains active and under investigation. The North Carolina Department of Labor has been notified and is assisting with the investigation to determine the circumstances surrounding this incident. Further information will be released as it becomes available. And as soon as the information comes in, we will be sure to update you. But that is information that we just got from Kings Mountain Police on this deadly workplace accident. Again, as soon as we get more information, we will be sure to pass it along here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. All right, so let's shift away from that breaking news. We'll stay here at home, and let's talk a little weather.
Let's talk about
It is,
It's gross.
yeah.
We've been saying it all morning, and I don't feel bad saying it. Look at this. That's gross.
It's
ugly. It's ugly.
That's uptown. Can you believe it? That's uptown. I feel like a week ago I was saying,
It's like
man,
Gotham City.
Yeah. Where's my Batmobile?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I feel like last week I was saying, hey, like this is
Too hot.
I did say that.
You got your
I did
wish,
say that.
actually.
I did say that. I said that. See, can I take things back? This is meteorologist Becca Birdsall holding me accountable.
Yes.
All right, so the weather is crummy, no doubt about it. Okay, so what is the rest of the day looking like? What are the current situations and what are we facing, I guess, for the rest of the day?
So we basically have what's called a Carolina wedge across Charlotte
Okay.
into the mountains. We typically see this in wintertime or springtime where we just get locked in with clouds and it's all day drizzle or rain. And that's what we're seeing for today with certainly some cooler temperatures. But bulk of the rainfall that we're seeing is already pushed off of the Mecklenburg area. It's now impacting some of our most eastern counties, but we're certainly not out of the woods yet. And it is going to remain a cloudy, soggy, and chilly day for the rest of your Tuesday. And you can see these are our two live cameras. Our Dallas camera is 1,450 feet up in the air, so it's in the deck.
I did not know that was a live camera.
Yeah.
I know, it kind of just looks like a gray
It's
screen.
gray. And then the other one is in Anson County where you're seeing some active downpours. That's the camera at the bottom hand side of your screen there, but you can see some of the poor visibilities out there. So we've got some fog really settling in up towards Ashe County, towards the high country, portions of Concord down to about 4 miles, and then it's especially over towards Wadesboro, Chesterfield, and Rockingham where we have close to about a mile of visibility due to the cloud cover and due to some foggy conditions and certainly the rain showers. So for today, rain and drizzle. We will get rounds of it with cool temperatures. It's also going to be, as no shock to probably a lot of you, the coldest day out of the week ahead. We already had our high temperature for today, so we're going to mainly be staying in the 50s and lower 60s with storms not anticipated in today's forecast. So Doppler radar, again, like I mentioned, most of the rainfall has actually shifted off to our most eastern counties, out of Mecklenburg, out of Union County, now impacting portions of Salisbury and especially our most eastern counties. Also including down into Albemarle and Ansonville. That's where we're seeing pockets of more of that moderate to heavy rainfall setup. Wadesboro, all the way down into Rockingham, Morven, and portions of Chesterfield County, where you see some of those yellows and oranges. It's indicative of some heavier rainfall at times, so do keep that in mind. Where you see a little bit less rainfall activity, especially west of I-77, doesn't necessarily mean that it's completely dry. It's just probably showing some misty conditions that are just not popping up on radar. This is all due to this high pressure system sitting off to the northeast on the very right hand side of your screen there, and this is filtering in just clouds, cool air, and lots of moisture, and really locking us in with clouds and wet conditions for today. When we combine that with this low pressure system off to the west that's driving in some warm moist air aloft, you'll notice we see temperatures likely hang on into the 50s. So this low pressure system right now continues to produce some strong storms up towards Mississippi, Alabama. Eventually, though, it's going to drift up to the northeast. As it does so, it's going to bring in a warm front tomorrow afternoon, and that is going to help erode the wedge that we have in place for today. As it does so, that is going to maybe bring us a few peaks of sunshine for the second half of tomorrow, and also some much warmer temperatures. Like I mentioned, today we already reached our high temperature of 61 degrees. We were 1 degree shy from tying that record cold high temperature of 60 back in 1901. So that century-long record still stands. And temperatures outside now, 57 in Charlotte. 56 in Hickory, 54 at Salisbury. This is where we're pretty much going to be staying for the afternoon. High temperatures, again, upper 50s to lower 60s across the entire area with wet, cloudy, and foggy conditions in the forecast. For tomorrow, though, we'll see some improvement. You may not notice it, though, in the morning hours. Morning hours will likely be wet, cloudy, mild, temperatures in the 50s and 60s. But by the time we get to the afternoon, that's when we start to warm back up. Middle to upper 70s expected, maybe a few peaks of sunshine very late in the afternoon on your Wednesday with a couple of downpours in the forecast. So Futurecast showing waves of showers and drizzle for the rest of today with the heavier band approaching later on tonight. So this is 9 o'clock. It's starting to push through the metro close to around 10, 11 into the overnight hours on your Wednesday. But by daybreak, this is pushed off to the east. Again, damp, cloudy, foggy start. But by the time we get to the afternoon, combined with a little bit of instability and daytime heating, could have a couple of downpours and thunderstorms start to pop up. Going to be hit or miss. Only a few of us will see them. But we do have a risk for some severe storms on Wednesday, but also on Thursday. Thursday looks to bring the best chance for more scattered thunderstorms across the area, especially during those afternoon hours. So Wednesday, we are under a level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather, mainly meaning we could see an isolated strong storm containing some damaging wind gusts, likely a better chance to see that on Thursday and Friday. And this is as our next cold front starts to come along. So today, of course, rain chances are peaking, but by the time we get to the end of the work week, they'll start to increase once again. But behind that cold front, finally some drier and some warmer air. So temperatures today, very cool. We'll warm back up into the upper 70s for Wednesday, near 80 for Thursday, and that's where we'll kind of hang out as we approach this weekend. This weekend looks fantastic. Highs are going to be in the lower 80s with plenty of sunshine to go around. So while it is wet today, we'll likely see a couple of additional rounds of rain that could lead to 1 to 3 inches of rainfall total. We will see a nice weekend ahead, again with temperatures much more seasonable for this time of year. I know a lot of people did not get a chance to hit the pool for Memorial Day or get to do any fun outdoor activities. So this weekend, hopefully, we'll make up for it.
It's fine. They'll be fine. We got more months to go.
Yeah.
Like, look, okay. Yeah, but I did not find a cookout. I was telling Carlene I was looking for a cookout this weekend.
Yeah,
I didn't
like
find
the restaurant?
No.
no.
No, like a barbecue or a cookout, however
Okay.
you want to refer to it. I didn't find one, but it was okay because the weather it didn't cooperate.
No.
So it was
You
fine.
still ate.
Was it great?
You're still
Fine.
fine.
Really?
It's fine. Okay. Yeah, I did.
You did.
I did.
You ate.
Yeah,
You're fine.
You could just gone to the cookout.
That's true.
There's one on every corner.
That's true.
There's one within walking distance. That's a dangerous thing right there. Oh, Becca, thank you. You were on the morning show, right?
Yes.
Go home. It's time to go home. I'm not going to hold you up here.
All right.
Thank you for the forecast,
Of
Becca.
course.
All right. All right, so we want to shift gears now. Do we want to go back or go to some breaking news right now? Okay, all right. So that was your forecast. So now let's shift to some breaking news, more breaking news out of Chesterfield County. So as far as we know from the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office, multiple people injured, including a teenager, in a Macedonia Church Road shooting. So here is a map of where it happened. I'm going to read you the release from the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office. It reads, on May 26th, which was yesterday, Memorial Day, at approximately 7:58 p.m., the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office received the report of a shooting at a ball field on Macedonia Church Road, located in the Cache community of Chesterfield County. Upon arrival, deputies located 2 victims suffering from gunshot wounds, a 16-year-old female juvenile from Sharaw, and Tenjahaya Bright, I believe I said that name correctly, age 18, also of Sharaw. Both victims sustained gunshot wounds to their back areas and were taken to a nearby hospital for emergency medical treatment. At the same time, deputies were informed of a vehicle involved in the shooting that was traveling south on Highway 52. Dispatch advised the vehicle to pull over on Camp Coker Road in Society Hill, and deputies made contact with the occupants. When deputies made contact with the vehicle, they located 19-year-old Tylis Isaac of Bennettsville, who had sustained a gunshot wound to the head. Isaac was transported to the hospital for treatment. In total, 3 individuals were injured in this shooting, which investigators have confirmed confirmed originated at the Macedonia Church Road ball field. The Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office is actively investigating this incident and currently has several persons of interest. Investigators are continuing to interview witnesses, collect evidence, and review any available footage. If you have any information on this shooting at all, you're urged to call the Sheriff's Office there. And they're also asking for people who may have video footage to contact the Sheriff's Office. So again, I want to replay this again. Multiple people hurt, including a teen, in a Macedonia Church Road shooting. This is a map of where, the area of where it happened. So yesterday, Monday, on Memorial Day, just before 8 p.m., the Chesterfield County Sheriff's Office received a report of a shooting at the ball field on Macedonia Church Road, located in the Cache community of Chesterfield County. Upon arrival, deputies located 2 victims suffering from gunshot wounds, a 16-year-old female juvenile from Charlotte, and Tanjahia Bright, 18 years old, also of Charlotte. Both victims sustained gunshot wounds in their back areas and were taken to a nearby hospital for medical treatment. At the same time, deputies were informed the vehicle involved in the shooting was traveling south on Highway 52. Dispatch advised the vehicle to pull over on Camp Coker Road in Society Hill, and deputies made contact with the people inside the vehicle. And when deputies made contact with the vehicle, they located 19-year-old Tyler Isaac of Bennisville, who had sustained a gunshot wound to the head. Isaac was taken to the hospital for treatment. In total, 3 people were injured in this shooting, which investigators have confirmed originated at the Macedonia Church Road ball field. This is currently an active investigation. There are currently several persons of interest. Investigators are continuing to interview witnesses, collect evidence, and they're asking for folks who have any video of what happened, either leading up, during, or after, to hand that over to the Sheriff's Office, share that with the Sheriff's Office, contact the Sheriff's Office if you have any information at all. That number, 843-623-2101, 843-623-2101. Again, that is breaking news out of Chesterfield County, Charlotte to be specific. As soon as and this is in South Carolina. So this is right there by the border. As soon as we get more information, we will make sure to pass that along to you as well. All right, so I'm looking at the feeds. We have a couple of things maybe happening live.
Karen Reed just went to read.
Okay, Karen Reed just went. So this is just to kind of set that up. If you've been watching Live Impact News and following us for weeks at this point, we've been following the Karen Reed murder trial. It has entered its 6th week starting today after a holiday break. So we will continue to follow that. Now, Karen Reed is charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter while operating a vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene. That happened back in 2022, and this is actually her 2nd murder trial. All right.
What we can do, since we just talked about Tijuana Brown not too long ago, we can look at her gaggle when she walked outside of court last Friday.
Yeah, that's very important.
Get a refresher before we go into city council tonight.
Yeah, so let me set this up for you guys. So we had Julie Kay on at the top of the show around 12:30, and she is covering city council. This has been a tumultuous few weeks for Charlotte City Council. This is the first meeting since a federal indictment accused Councilwoman Tijuana Brown of fraud. Is also the first since CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings announced his resignation and the details of his payout. So when this news came out about Council Member Tijuana Brown, she held a press conference early on Thursday morning and then appeared in court Friday. And we were able to catch up. Our WCNC Charlotte's Anna King was able to catch up along with a gaggle of reporters as she was leaving the courthouse. Here is that entire interaction that we played here and showed you here live on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Here it goes.
I know it was a concern due to your job.
The judge allowed me to do what I love to do, and that's work. Travel the world and help people.
What are your feelings
facing a judge along with your daughter.
Excuse me, can I get through here, please?
You're clearly very, very well respected, tied up in a case like this.
Very well respected.
Tied
Thank
up in
you.
a case like this. How are you feeling right now?
I'm
following-
still very well respected.
How are you feeling following the hearing?
You'd still be well respected after the charges?
You don't lose respect for allegations.
Councilmember, Charlotte posted a video of you on the phone at the Baymont Hotel with a worker. What happened there?
Would you at all be open to taking a deal if it was offered?
Is there anything you want people to know here?
I love God.
Any a felony conviction could force you to lose your seat?
Do you still stand by what you said yesterday of not resigning at all?
Is the loss of your passport gonna?
I am the city council member that was elected for the people, by the people. Resignation is not in. Watch out. I'm gonna warn you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Watch out.
Resignation is not.
It's not an option. This has nothing to do with my seat. Where are my daughters?
Excuse us.
Can we get through? Thank you.
Do y'all have any on how that went today?
Hey, how are you? You know that. I love the people.
Were you surprised at all by the way the hearing went today?
What do you mean was surprised by the way? Judge was amazing.
What's the message to the community?
I love you. Keep standing with us. Thank you.
Why should the community?
No comment.
Are you at council today?
Absolutely. Are you gonna come there too?
We'll be there. Vendors, street vendors.
Have a good day.
Any comments on the street vendors? The street vendor changes.
Whatever my folks want me to do, whatever my constituents want me to do, you know I do that, Joe. Let's not pretend that. So
Do you feel supported by your constituents?
absolutely. What you think? I want every precinct.
But that has nothing to do with now.
Anything you want to add? Michael, Rob? I think she covered it.
Are you pleased with today, or with the way today's hearing went?
Yes.
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 Will the loss of her passport affect anything business-wise, or? I know that was a big thing that you all rallied.
We're still working through that. So.
And
Right.
No, I was going to say, in terms of the trial, will they be 3 separate trials?
I doubt it. I anticipate that it'll be a single trial.
Rob, would y'all be open? I know y'all pleaded not guilty, all 3, but your specific case was pled not guilty and you requested a jury trial. Would you at all be open to a plea deal if it's offered by federal prosecutors?
No, it's not up for consideration.
How do you think that went today overall?
Yeah, it's just an initial hearing. Went like it's supposed to, so we're happy.
she's clearly very well respected, tied up in a case like this. Is there anything you want the public here to know?
We're just getting warmed up. We pled not guilty and we're ready to go. So thanks everybody.
Thank you, Rob.
Can I ask you a quick question? Is there any reason why the public shouldn't lose their trust in her?
Is there any reason the public should not?
Right, after the charges have been filed by the feds, because, you know, the conviction rate by the feds is usually around 95% or so. So is there any reason why they shouldn't lose faith or trust in her?
She's pled not guilty. She's presumed innocent, and we've got a defense that you'll hear plenty about as we go. So thanks everybody.
Thank you.
All right, so that was Charlotte City Council member Tijuana Brown as she was leaving the courthouse, a federal courthouse, on Friday. And so just to give you some backstory, because I always think context is very important, especially with so many things, so many moving parts when it comes to what's happening with City Council. So Just want to read you what we have on our website right now. You can check it out right now on WCNC.com. All right, so Charlotte City Council member Tijuana Brown has consistently reiterated over the last week she will not resign after a federal indictment on charges of COVID-19 relief fraud. But if she is convicted, she might have to, and a felony conviction under the state constitution would mean she is disqualified from office. Now, Brown does have a prior fraud conviction at that, from the 1990s, but it was expunged, which is why she is eligible now. Now, Brown made her first appearance in court Friday, telling reporters, quote, "You don't lose respect for allegations," while leaving the courthouse in Uptown Charlotte. She, along with her 2 daughters, also named, pleaded not guilty. The indictment claims the group filed at least 15 fraudulent loan applications between April 2020 and September 2021, using fake tax forms and false documentation. Now, federal prosecutors say while some of the loan applications were rejected, Brown used money from others that were approved for personal spending, including, quote, purchases of Louis Vuitton merchandise. On Thursday at a press conference, right after the charges were announced, she claimed the investigation is politically motivated. And she also said, quote, "It's an effort to distract from the work I've done and the lives I've touched and the community I represent." She also goes on to say, quote, "My commitment to justice, to equity, and second chances remains unshaken. I trust the legal process, and I remain focused on what matters the most to people." Now, all seats on Charlotte City Council, including Brown's, are up for re-election in November. The charges themselves do not disqualify her from running again, which she says she plans to do. Brown also said she will not take a plea deal. She said, quote, "Not an option." She said this on Friday. Quote, "This has nothing to do with my seat." This means she's expected at the Charlotte City Council meeting this evening, which WCNC Charlotte's Julie Kay is covering. She also is expected to go through with her town hall scheduled for Wednesday, which is tomorrow. I believe that still stands as far as I know. This is what we're reporting. So as far as what we're reporting, she's scheduled to have a town hall tomorrow. All right, so let's shift gears now for a second to another story. Very emotional story. I got a chance to listen to this entire interview. Our WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre covered this, and it's a story of survival, and it takes a new meaning when you hear from these women. 2 sisters, they're spreading awareness about domestic violence after they survived a brutal attack by their father. Now, back in 1995, he shot the 2 of them along with another sister, killing her. Today, or I should say Friday, he was released from prison 30 years since the shooting. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre sat down with those sisters and shares how they are working to overcome this tragedy. And we wanted to give you this full interview because it's such a gripping story. And again, this is a story of survival, and this is an emotional interview here. So let's take a listen into that interview.
We'll just kind of take it from the beginning. 1995, kind of just talk to us, being in your home, which is supposed to be your safe space. You had family, other siblings there and so forth, and I guess what happened?
Oh, goodness. Total nightmare that we wasn't even prepared for at all. And just coming into the household after we were sent away by Willie to go to the library. And this was an ongoing domestic violence situation where he would abuse our biological mother, Sheila, and in the worst way. It was stomping on the head with his very, like strong, heavy boots, and stomp on the head, and broke her bones, broke her nose, and so many other things. But long story short, it just, as we got older or whatever, he wanted to take that same control over us, you know, us children. And she had 9 of us, and a lot of that had to do with rape. He's been raping young women and you know, the ones that don't know any better, since he was a teenager. So he's obsessed with that, as well as obsessed with guns. And he shot a guy when I was like, we were like very young, younger than 3. And he jumped bail because he was supposed to do prison time, and this happened in New Jersey. And he escaped here and was hiding out all that time since. He never came outside the house. And my biological mom, even though he was beating her so bad, she still stood by his side. And because of that, he took out his rage on us. So it's like we did nothing to deserve what he did to us. It's just that he was a very controlling, just a horrible person, and didn't even care and treated us like he was our father. He was just using us. And that's, you know, the part that I didn't understand, and none of our family understood.
Can you take us back to, and what month in 1995 was this?
February 8th.
February 8th. Can you take us back to what happened that day and so forth?
Okay. On February 8th, 1995, we had arrived home from the library. It was a cold day, and when we arrived there, we was told to, he was standing behind the door, and we was told to keep our jackets and stuff on. And
we thought that was weird.
Yeah, we thought that was strange for him to say something of that nature. And then as we got there, we was told to go wash our hands, and when he told us to do that, we went to go do what he asked us to. And then our younger sister, Aquila, he started like really messing with her in particular on that day. When he told her to go wash her hands, I can't remember all what was said that particular day.
Yeah, just that he was telling us that, you know, look how how bloody his teeth are, and that he can't go and see a dentist, and he was just saying that, you know, we don't understand what it's like to be older and have a problem with your teeth. And he spit, he was like, I'm going to give you an example. And he spit out, you know, the blood that is coming from his teeth. And that grossed her out, and Aquila grossed her out, and she just was turning away. He was like, don't turn away, look, you know, look at it, and everything. He's like, I really need to get my teeth fixed. So that's what kind of led up to him kind of jumping on her. And we had our jackets on, like, why we have our jackets on? You always tell us to take it off when we're at home. And so he was sitting down arguing with her, and she was just basically just asking why you so, you know, mean to us 3, and next thing you know, you could tell the rest.
Okay. Yes. After that, when he was telling, he told her to wash her hands. Sis, correct me if I'm wrong or anything. And she washed her hands. She did what he told her to do at that moment. And then he was still picking on her, I think, about that time.
Yeah, but it just after that, basically he had her and us, kind of sit down. But I just went straight to wash the dishes, cause I was like, I don't want to deal with this anymore, because he just kept harping on us and just bothering us, cause it was like a control thing, like you just can't let go. He wanted us for himself, and you see that as we was older, teenagers and stuff like that, that we were gonna run away. Or something, because other siblings did run away. And
so you guys are in the house. There was a family dispute, just him kind of picking at the kids and so forth.
Yeah.
So when did it turn to the next level where he went and got a gun?
Yeah, actually that's the thing. He had the gun in his back pocket, but he had a shirt that was covering it, and so. After he, was messing with her, that she got upset, and then she started, telling him that I just don't understand, and next thing you know, he just reached behind the back of his pocket, and I could see from where I was at, and he actually pulled out this gun and started shooting her. And I just turned my head away from that, but the sound of the gun being shot, it was just so super loud. So everybody in the neighborhood was hearing it and started calling the police. And after, he shot.
I could take over that part. See, just my memory, like I tried to blank. Put a lot of that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. When he shot her in the head.
Around 14.
She was 14 years old. So he shoots your sister. What's her full name?
Aquila Roberts.
Aquila Roberts. 14 years old. He shoots her, and then what does he do?
And then after he shot her, it was like 2 shots was at the wall, and sister got up. I think she got up and she ended up over there by the furnace. And then like after he shot her, I just got up and went to the door. It was a door here on the right side. I get up, go to the door, and when I went to the door, opened the door, and then I seen him coming towards me. And then when I saw him coming towards me, I was like, maybe I just should close the door because he's mad I'm trying to get out. So shut the door back. And then when I shut the door, something told me, I went over here by the couch. It was this big old couch. I did this, like, on the back of the couch, went down like this, put hand over, my face like this. And then I said, do not shoot, please don't shoot me. And then he shot at me twice. Obviously, the bullet, when he shot at me twice, got stuck here, one bullet. And then the other bullet must have just went past and glazed my left nostril, because this part was damaged. And then after he did that, he turned away. When he turned away, something said, get up and run. And then I got up, ran upstairs, and then our baby brother, I didn't realize he was behind me. He ran up.
He was on the 10.
Yeah, after me, behind me. And we ran in one of the rooms over there to the left, locked the door. If it wasn't for my brother, I don't know if I would have been able to get out because this hand was, already damaged for him shooting me. So baby brother helps me to get the window up. He and I jumped, because they had the roof, jumped top of the roof, and then we jumped down from there. he and I ran all the way to the fire department, and then we notified them.
And then when he,
I don't know
and
what
then
else
he shot
happened
you
after that.
after?
Oh yeah, I didn't know that because when he shot Aquila, I turned my head away, and I was going to run out the back door, you know, and I didn't realize that he was shooting Rashida, you know, after he had shot, you know, her, shot Aquila, and so. Just hearing the loud pops and stuff like that of him shooting a gun, I started running out the back door. But then my sister Nia, she came downstairs like, "What happened? What happened?" And I was like, "He shot Aquila, and we got to get help." And she was like, "Cause I was picking up the phone." And she was like, "No, we can't call the police because that's our father," you know. And I was like, "Well, but he's gonna come after me." And she was like, "No, he's not." And after that, she, you know, left to go back, I guess, upstairs. And then next thing I know, after she left, he came in with a gun ready and pointed with like this smirk, a devilish smirk on his face. And I was like, "Please don't do this. I didn't do anything. Please, you know, Dad." And, you know, I will never come out and be like, "Dad." You know, he wanted us to call him Musa. And so I was like begging for my life, and I see that he wasn't gonna put the gun down. So I started taking off running because I had the back door open. And so it was a screen door that I had to push through to get out. And the next thing you know, glass started, you know, like hitting and shattering on the floor around the ground around me. And he was trying to execute me by shooting me in my head because he shot her in her face and stuff. So he knew that by shooting us in our head that would actually kill you. But there were steps on the outside of the apartment, and I had to jump over those steps. So when I jumped up, because you said that for my head, but with me jumping up, it got me like in my spine in the back. And next thing I know, I was just passing out, you know, because I ran over the steps, jumped over it, and that's all I remember is I knew I was hitting the ground. And he got me in my spine, which knocked me out. And next thing I knew, I was in the hospital, and I couldn't move anything.
And you were 18 years old?
Yes, I was 18. Mm-hmm.
You know, kind of talk to me about the physical damages, and then, you know, I know your sister, she lost her life and so forth. Talk to me about what happened as far as like the damage left from the shooting.
Oh yeah, my family, after I spoke with them, they told me that, you know, I was laying on the ground, that one of the neighbors asked, like, you know, "What happened to you?" And they said I said that my father had shot me, and they were, I guess, I'm pretty sure, afraid like he would come after them or whatever. But I knew that basically the way that I would be able to survive would be to get out that house, because as long as I was inside the apartment, you know, I know that he would be able to do anything he wanted to do. But he was hiding out for so long. He thought that people didn't know that he was there.
Let me ask you this. You know, what went through your mind learning after being in the hospital that you were paralyzed from the waist down? How did that change your life?
Oh my God, I was going through so much hell, you know, physically at that time, and when I woke up and couldn't move other than like my shoulders a little bit like that. I was like, oh my God, you know, I really am not able to move. And so what I was thinking all the time, you know, or I kept having visions, and I was having like, you know, like thoughts that would come into my mind or whatever. Basically, it just felt like it was from God that was telling me that something eventually was going to happen to you. And this was since I was very young. And I was just getting these premonitions from time to time saying something was going to happen to me and I wasn't going to be physically the same. And it actually happened. When it happened, I was like waking up from the hospital, and I was like, oh, so I really did have something happen, and I survived it like my premonition said, you know. So
what did your father take away from you?
Oh, he took everything away because I know that the law doesn't see that, you know, me being shot by him, that I wasn't, you know, like, you know, damaged in any other way. I'd be paralyzed, but sure, you know, that's something minimal. It's not minimal because I feel like, you know, he actually did. He murdered me as well, you know, because I don't feel like the Jamila that I was, because I'm not her. You know, in a sense, because, yeah, I have her mind, but my body is not the same at all. You know, because I have so much paralysis, basically from my waist down. And I can't do anything, you know, without help, you know, from somebody.
No, okay.
Yeah, I can't do anything because I can't even move, you know, like grip with my hands. I have to have help to be dressed, and it's hard because, you know, if I drop something, I had to have somebody around to, you know, pick it up. My life was never like that. I was normal. I was born, you know, normal, you know, like, excuse me, like not normal, but I was physically able to move around, you know, like, you know, supposed to, and how I was, because I was born, you know, without any medical issues at all, and then be turned into this quadriplegic that can't even move. I mean, that hurt so bad, and I was like, I don't know why he did this, and and murder my sister. I was messed up really, really bad, and I still tried to, you know, keep on and live the life that I'm left with. But it honestly, it's not easy at all, one bit. People that are not in my shoes don't even understand, you know, how horrible it is, and how I keep a mask on my face, you know, showing that, you know, smiling to people, and, you know, and speaking to people and stuff like that. But, you know, speaking in a positive way to people, but I'm hurting inside. I'm just so angry, you know, and I try to keep the tears back, you know, and it's not easy at all. And I just wish that this wasn't my life, you know, but the choice was made by him, and the jealousy, and, you know, he did rape a couple of my sisters and stuff, you know, at a very young age.
Rashida, let me ask you this. What did he take away from you?
My mental health. I struggle mentally with my mental health due to what they diagnosed with PTSD, severe depression. I have had anxiety, panic attacks, you know, you name it.
Knowing that your sister was gone, what?
Yeah.
Where did that take you?
It didn't feel real. You know how you see things in movies? You know, people, you know, dying in movies and stuff like that. Never really was able to, before that time, experience death of a loved one. I couldn't believe it. It hurt me so bad. Yeah.
And your father has been in jail since 1995. He was arrested.
Yeah, he was arrested and was in an institute for the criminally insane. And
then was transferred to prison.
He was deemed as not able to stand trial, you know, at that time because of his mental issues. And so they, you know, gave him medications and whatever that they do in prison, you know. So he escaped the fact that he wasn't going straight to prison, you know, because of that, you know, decision that they made. And
got it. So he was in a mental health institution first, and then he was transferred to prison.
Yes.
Got it. So since 19.
All right, so that was Jesse Pierre's full interview with two sisters. Went through a very traumatic incident back 30 years ago. Charlotte's sister speaking out after their father was released Friday from prison after serving 30 years after the shooting. Jamila Roberts and Rashida Page survived the 1995 family tragedy, and now they're raising awareness and raising their voices. You can catch that full that story, at least that full story on our website right now on WCNC.com. Again, a very emotional interview there. All right, so we want to shift gears. Let's talk a little basketball. So we got the news yesterday. You know, this is what happens when you come off a holiday. Yeah. It's just I keep wanting to say Monday, but it's not Monday. It's Tuesday. So we learned that Charlotte will not host CIAA basketball tournaments, and that is for 2027 through 2029. The reason, scheduling conflicts as a key factor for the rejection, but this has been a talker for a long time, CIAA tournament. We were actually talking about this.
It's been a conversation since we lost it.
Yeah, and look, the CIAA tournament is, at least in Charlotte, was a staple. Mm-hmm. It was something that, you know, when I was in high school growing up about an hour and a half away from Charlotte, you know, we talked about, like, are you going to go? Your mom, is your dad going to let you go to? And so that was always, even in college.
I had friends in college who went from South Carolina. I mean, it was an hour and a half drive. So
it was a real possibility when you're in college because you had no sort of parental restrictions.
Right.
It came synonymous with the parties, right? Yep. There was a lot of attention on the party scene. And, you know, there are other people out there that focused on...
It's a social event.
It was a social event. And so it moved to Baltimore. And it's been there in Baltimore. When I was working in Raleigh, our sports director would drive up to Baltimore to cover the CIAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And from what he told me, it was a great experience. Mm-hmm. Baltimore did the tournament well, and it looks like the tournament trusts Baltimore, the city, with the future of the tournament. And so we want to bring in a guy who's been covering this story every step of the way. That's WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris.
I was waiting for you to tag me in, man. Tag me in. Wait, tag me in. I'm ready to go. No, I'm kidding.
No, I felt like I was taking a lot away from what you were going to tell us, but I'm just trying to give some sort of personal experience, some backstory to CIAA not choosing Charlotte The big question, I mean, because I remember, I think the last time we had you in here, and we were optimistic.
Yes, and from hearing from some of the city council members, James Mitchell in particular, very, very confident in trying to get this tournament back. And so we had talked, and whether it was on the stream or even like at the desk, like just kind of learning more about the impacts of this. And it's so much more than just basketball. So it is a little bit of a blow that Charlotte's not hosting this tournament again. But now I guess we're kind of trying to figure out what the next steps are. And so I know that you had hinted at it and mentioned it, figuring out the reasons on why Charlotte's not hosting this tournament. And there are a bunch of factors. We heard from the CRVA. They mentioned that one of the big factors with this, or one of the factors, we should say at least, was just the scheduling conflict. They wanted the bid for it to be for 2027, 28, and 29. But from what we have been able to gather, it looks like Charlotte was really only trying to put the bid in for 28 and 29. You got to think about it. We already have a lot of major sporting events, in particular the ACC women's basketball tournament, which does fall in line, I think, with the 2027 timeline. But also they're doing renovations at Spectrum Center, though, too. So when you kind of factor in a lot of those other things, it's a loss for Charlotte, but at the same time, is it a loss for Charlotte? Because you're not getting this tournament, but you're getting other sporting events, major sporting events. So one of the things that we had talked about, too, was was it some of the other extracurriculars that were happening, crime-related stuff that was pushing this tournament away? I don't know if that's necessarily if it is even a big factor on why this tournament's not here. I just think that what Baltimore is doing with this tournament, from what I've been able to hear so far, they have this thing down to a science. And you really got to think about it. I mean, this is an event that's gathered 100,000 plus to come into, whether it's Charlotte, whether it's DC, whether it's Baltimore in particular, wherever this may be, right?
Right there between some pretty big markets.
Yes, I mean, it's up there, right? And so you got to make sure that everything's in order, and it's not just the venues, it's the hotels, it's the accommodations with everything else. And so I feel like there is so much on Charlotte's plate right now that the CIAA is just not lining up right now, I should say. I think it's kind of curious to see, and we're going to talk to James Mitchell here in a little bit, kind of learning what the next steps are with that. And then, are you guys giving up on this tournament? It's tricky because now you're looking at not seeing this becoming a possibility until 2030.
That'd be 10 years since
Lord
it
knows
left?
what Charlotte looked like at that time.
Exactly. Exactly. And so this is, I mean, we've talked about it offline as well as the growth of the city. There's stuff that comes with it. This is one of those things that, unfortunately, timing-wise, it kind of got pushed out just because of a lot of other things that are taking place. But I think one of the other factors that I was even finding in some of the research as well was, even before it left Charlotte, it was moved from Spectrum Center to the Bojangles Coliseum, which was the pitch. If you're going to have an event come into Charlotte, not saying anything's wrong with the Bojangles Coliseum, but you want to go big, right? And so you want to have a sporting event, in particular a basketball sporting event, at a place like Spectrum. You've already got the Hornets that play there. We just had the ACC tournament there as well. It makes sense to try to line that up. I don't know how much of a pull or a draw having it at the Bojangles was for the committee that ended up making that decision.
And it's optics too. I mean, like you said, you have the ACC tournament there, and then you move CIAA to Bojangles, optics-wise, right?
Right, exactly. And so it's just kind of curious because, I mean, we just talked about it, though, too. We had something similar with the BCIC tournament that was here. What did city council or from officials, what did they learn from that tournament to tailor in similar events like the CIAA? Obviously, every sporting event, not saying that the ACC tournament, I'm just going to make that clear. We're not trying to make it seem like it's not a big tournament in comparison or bigger than the CIAA. CIAA brings in other things with it. We just talked about it, the parties, the atmosphere, everything. What is it going to take for Charlotte to bring a tournament like that back is the question. And that's what we're trying to get answered today. So
I'm going to let you go because I know you have an interview, but I have one, I guess, thing for us to leave this off on. What is Charlotte? Like, it's a conversation that we had in our morning meeting. What is Charlotte? Is Charlotte a college basketball city? Is Charlotte an NFL town? Is Charlotte pro basketball? Is Charlotte tennis? What is
identity? What is
the identity? I mean, because I say we as a city because we live in the city. Like, it's lean into sports, but what, is it golf?
What defines us?
What defines Charlotte?
Yeah. Is it golf? Is it basketball? Or is it baseball? Is it soccer? I mean, we have major sporting. We have world-class soccer coming in Charlotte in a month. So it's not like Charlotte's not getting
soccer. Yeah, let me not forget soccer.
And that's what I mean. Like, so it's not like Charlotte's not getting major sporting events. We are. It's just scheduling. It's just finding the right venues, and it's obviously making sure that when they do come to town, that we are giving them the biggest red carpet we can give them when they're here. So
a lot to figure out.
We just gave a big red carpet at Quail Hollow.
Exactly.
And there's never like a lack, like you said. There's not like a lack of sporting events happening in Charlotte. I feel like turn around and there's another big major sporting event being announced or about to happen. So I understand, but it is something that I think is on a lot of folks' mind. What is when I'm from the High Point Greensboro area, Greensboro known as ACC town. So the ACC tournament was the calling card for Greensboro. As small of this compared you compare it wise to Raleigh and Charlotte, much smaller.
Right.
And we were known as ACC town. So Raleigh, known for the Hurricanes.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Thank you, Carlene. Carolina Hurricanes. Hurricanes. Because it is further east. So the Carolina Hurricanes. So I guess we will have to figure that.
We'll see. We know we were pushing for it to come back. We know. I told Councilmember Mitchell, I'm like, hey, I got a guy at my desk. He wants it to come back. I'm trying to make sure that we make that happen, man. But just know that like city officials, a lot of people, and it's not even just officials. I mean, it is the tourists and even the hotel industry. They're looking at trying to get this tournament and seeing if they can bring it back. I mean, there are a lot of teams, players that are trying to see, because you obviously want to make sure that Charlotte is the biggest attraction for these type of events. It helps in so many ways and more ways than one, and it reverses it as well. So we'll see kind of what they're going to do after this bid to kind of see what they can put on the plate or on the calendar. But I mean, there already is a lot of stuff on the plate, but just trying to see what it looks like moving forward, man.
WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris here in Live Impact News. Thank you for your time, man.
Appreciate you tagging me in, man. I appreciate that.
Finally, after a while.
I'm like, I'm totally kidding.
Give me the script.
No, I'm kidding.
Miles Harris. All right, man. Thank you, man. You can catch his story later on this evening. All right, so do we want to head down to Florida? Because it's still going on. So, all right, so we didn't get much information about this, but Governor Ron DeSantis holding a press conference there in the Orlando, Florida area. Let's take you there live. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Let's listen in.
When this came to me, it grabbed a hold of my heart because it affects so many lives. For over 190 years, gold and silver backed our currency. It was our money. However, in 1971, President Nixon removed the dollar from the gold standard. Since then, we've seen over a 90% decrease in its buying power. One of the illustrations that I've used with people and used in committee and with different representatives, if you bought a home in 1979, the average cost was $75,000. Those were the days. If you bought that same home, that same product now, it would be $531,000. However, if you had bought that in gold in 1979, it would have been 268 ounces. Today, if you bought that home, 268 ounces. Why? Because it's a tangible thing that has true value. And again, as the governor referred, we have a fiat money that has nothing behind it, because in 2023, the oil dollars went away, the deal that Nixon had made. So fortunately, our founders, they guaranteed each state the constitutional right to declare gold and silver as legal tender, giving it the same capacity as the dollar to be used as currency or cash. I love the fact, and this wasn't anything that I did, but this was called House Bill 999. I thought that was very fitting. But this basically, it does four key things. Number one, it enacts the state's constitutional right to declare gold and silver as legal tender. You know, it was the states that formed the federal government, not the other way around. And I love the fact that our states are stepping up, and strong leadership stepping back up and saying, no, Washington, you work for us. Number two, it establishes... Number two, it establishes the framework for depositories within the state of Florida with all the checks and balances, independent auditing, and fully insured holdings. We've all heard of FDIC. It only insures up to $250,000, but this structure will fully insure all of those holdings. Number three, it enables gold and silver as a standard weight and purity to be accessed by electronic transaction or a debit card, making it a truly functional currency. And finally, number four, for it ensures the right between willing parties to transact legally with gold and silver. So simply put, it brings opportunity without obligation, fiscal stability and security, relief to the taxpayer, can I get an amen? Amen. And will once again help Florida lead the way, becoming the gold and opportunity. You know, you can't do this without thanking the team, because this is a team sport, and I love the team. First of all, I want to thank publicly Kevin Freeman, Mike Carter. You guys are just champions. And this is where the idea initially came to me.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. You're watching a news conference held by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. He tweeted out what we do know about this press conference is that he is signing legislation to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in Florida. So I also wanted to come on and tell you, bear with us for a second. The picture continues to go in and out at times. Yeah, it's not on our end, but we're working to figure that out. Bear with us for a second. It looks like everything is clear now. Let's take a listen in.
The tag flipping bill, if you've heard of that one. I also want to thank Representative Chip LaMarca. You know, when I came in as a freshman, I looked for someone who had some class and some clout that could help me sell this bill all across the room. And Chip LaMarca stepped up. He heard about the bill. He believed in it. And Chip, I know he's with his family celebrating 50 years of his uncle being a priest. And so they're all doing that today. I also want to thank that our House and Senate leadership both said, let's go, gave us a green light to keep moving forward. You know, with all of the things going on right now, this is about the people. And I believe they saw that. In fact, we ended up getting 100% support on both sides of the aisle, 100% vote to get this across the finish line. Now, this doesn't happen without staff, and I'm going to embarrass somebody real good, because my legislative aide, Nicole Kennedy, working. Listen, we get to stand up here, but they're really doing the work behind the scenes to make it happen. I want to thank my church, who allows me to go and serve the people, the things that are important for our state. 22 million people. It's a responsibility, and I love freedom and I love liberty. But most of all, I want to thank my family, my sweet wife, Jerry. She's right there. Give her a hand, please. I'm nothing without that woman right there. My father's here, sons, different ones of the family, my sister back there, and brother-in-law. You know, it takes your family supporting you in this. You know, if you're not ready for the slings and the arrows, you need to do something else. But the bottom line, what we fight for is worth the fight. There is a cause worth fighting for, and you have to do what's right. And, you know, of course, I want to thank our wonderful governor. Aren't you thankful for this man? I'm grateful for the bold leadership, unbending and unwavering in the face of opposition. If it's right, you do it, and that's the right thing to do. And finally, I want to thank God. You know, it's easy for politicians to use God bless America as a punchline. You know, but the bottom line is we are here because He is a good God. He gave us this good earth. We are stewards on this planet, and what we do will affect those who follow us. And so I'm grateful. I'm very thankful to God that we live in the greatest state of the nation, that I get to serve America's governor, and that we're going to get this done for the people of Florida. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, and thank you, Governor, and thank you, Representative Bankson. It's an honor to be here in the free state of Florida for HB 999, a new law that can truly bless real people. It was more than 50 years ago that my father came into my bedroom and said, President Nixon took us off the gold standard, and he warned of inflation, and since then the dollar has lost 90. Costs over $1 today. Think of a Hershey bar. It was 10 cents when I was 10 years old. But there is good news. With this signing, Governor DeSantis will make it possible for anyone to have their own personal gold and silver standard. By making precious metals transactional under state authority as required by the U.S. Constitution, Florida enters a new era of economic justice and real prosperity. This has been a dream of mine since I was 10 years old. This is why I became an economist. I've spoken about it, debated it, written about it, and 2 years ago, I shared this idea with your governor at Liberty University. Shortly after that, with his encouragement and inspiration, I wrote the book Pirate Money to explain how it might work. A army of people came alongside, starting with my wife Marnie and my business partners Mike Carter and Russell Lake, and fabulous peer teams. Art Alley of Timothy Plan introduced me to legislators like Representative Bankson at the Governor's Club, and the wonderful people of Florida read the book and advanced the cause, making it happen. I can't take credit for the idea. It was the founders, based on their reading the Bible. You see, God hates and measures. He wants money to be fair for all people. And with the way the federal government racks up debt and creates money from nothing, it has been far from fair. This law, once signed, will give people a choice in how they hold their money and how they spend their money. It's going to open amazing doors for Florida, and it'll provide security for all Americans. Arkansas and Missouri have passed similar legislation, and the Texas Senate is voting today, with Louisiana and Ohio and others possible. But this legislation is groundbreaking, it's comprehensive, and it's powerful. Every state can make gold and silver legal tender, and with modern technology, you can spend it with a debit card, allowing for use for everyday transactions. Governor DeSantis, you're a true leader, and this legislation is groundbreaking. This is patriot. It's a patriot money movement that may answer the question, what's in your wallet? For me, and many of you Floridians, we can now say gold and silver. This is pirate money. Congratulations.
All right.
Arg!
You guys want to come? We are looking at, today is the 22nd. One for everybody. All right. Who wants?
All right, so we want to shift away from that, and thank you for bearing with us as far as equality. So that was a press conference, and you just saw there, as Governor Ron DeSantis out of Florida signed legislation to recognize gold and silver as legal tender in Florida. All right, so we'll shift gears. Let's come back home now. So creating more welcoming and vibrant spaces in Charlotte, that's the goal of a new city-led effort to give away free furniture to local communities. This is pretty cool. It's all a part of a push to reimagine how public spaces are used and enjoyed. So this morning on WCNC Plus, Kaylin Hagwood and Lisa Washington got a chance to speak with the city planning project manager behind the Urban Design Center. Let's listen into this interview.
Creating more welcoming, vibrant spaces in Charlotte, that is the goal of a new city-led effort to give away free furniture to local communities.
Well, it's all a part of a push to reimagine how public spaces are used and enjoyed. And joining us now to explain how the project works is Charlotte Cuscavier, Planning Project Manager with the Urban Design Center. Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So if you could just start by telling us a little bit about the Urban Design Center and the work that you all are doing in the community.
Of course. The Urban Design Center is located within the City of Charlotte's Planning Department. Our mission is to advance the quality of Charlotte's built environment and bring public awareness to the importance of urban design. We do that in a few ways, but one of them is placemaking. And this is transforming underutilized space into vibrant places for people, and really using and collaborating with the people who will use that space to make it happen.
And so this is a new initiative. We want to know, what's the inspiration behind donating free furniture to enhance these community spaces?
Yeah, we completely revamped our placemaking hub. And this is a guidebook that empowers residents to design, install, and maintain their own public space projects. So we wanted to get the word out about this new tool and empower communities to improve their shared spaces quickly and creatively. And this was a great way, we thought, to get the news out about the tool. There's no lack of ideas, but sometimes something as small as, having a bench available can really help move a project forward.
And Charlotte, I feel like maybe you touched on this just a little bit, but what kind of furniture will be given away and where is it all coming from?
Yeah, we have commercial quality furniture that's been built and designed for the wear and tear of public spaces. It's all either in a fun color or a really innovative design, so we've been calling it furniture. We've got bistro sets, benches, picnic tables, and Adirondack chairs. This furniture is being donated by 4 companies who believe in the importance of placemaking and, access to community gathering space. They will donate it and are partnering with us. It's Landscape Forms, Lowell, MCT, and Vestry. So we're very thankful for them.
And the furniture, or furniture as you call it, really can make the difference, can be a moment in the space. How do you determine which spaces are eligible to receive the furniture?
Yeah, eligibility is going to be really easy. We're looking for shared community spaces. These spaces can be privately owned as long as they are publicly accessible. We're really going to be looking at access and the impact that we think your idea could have.
And how does placemaking and something as simple as furniture impact the way people interact with the city?
Yeah, placemaking allows people who live in the area to really take the reins in designing it themselves. This really strengthens the connection between people and the places they share. There are so many spaces that we pass through every day without giving it a second thought. Adding something like a piece of furniture lets people know that, they're allowed to be there and they can linger and get to know each other.
And you mentioned that the places can be either public or privately owned. What's the application process to get some of this furniture?
We'd like for everyone to post a photo or a video on Instagram or Facebook of where they'd like to utilize this furniture, and tag the Urban Design Center at CLT Urban Design. And then there's a quick application at charlottenc.gov/placemaking hub. This application is really just asking for contact information, the address of your location, and why you think it's a good location. What difference will it make? And make sure you're following us and that your posts are viewable.
All right, Charlotte, where can people go to learn more about this initiative?
Yeah, they can go to charlottenc.gov/placemaking hub.
Wonderful. Charlotte Cuscavier with the Urban Design Center. Thank you so much for joining us and telling about this new initiative.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
That's a pretty cool initiative happening in the city of Charlotte. All right, so let's turn now to Massachusetts, where Governor Maura Healey, Senator Elizabeth Warren, and Senator Ed Markey are visiting Cambridge Health Alliance's Revere Care Center to sound the alarm about the devastating impacts, what they're claiming are the devastating impacts of President Trump's bill in Congress that will take away health care from Massachusetts children, families, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities. This is a live look at that press conference that just got underway not too long ago. Let's take a listen in.
Over again. These cuts target people with disabilities, requiring them to fill out more paperwork, which is going to have the effect of kicking them off as well. These cuts target our seasonal workers and gig workers here in Massachusetts, of which there are many, who can't get enough hours on a consistent basis and therefore qualify for Mass Health. They and many others will lose critical services and coverage. And what's going to happen to all these people? 250,000 people losing coverage. Where are they going to go? Some will end up in the street. Many will end up in emergency rooms. Who do you think pays for it when people end up in emergency rooms? Hospitals can't absorb that. Insurance companies can't absorb that. We're going to all be absorbing that. Businesses here, residents here. People are going to see their premiums go up. People are going to see a whole lot of harm. In addition to Mass Health, we talk a lot about Mass Health. There's also a really important program here in Massachusetts called the Health Connector. The Health Connector is for people who make just a little bit too much to qualify for Mass Health, but are still just getting by. Who are these people? There are a lot of people running small businesses. They're people who are self-employed. Now, the Republicans and Donald Trump want to slash funding for the Health Connector as well. And this is going to drive up premiums, force 100,000 families to go without coverage. So you can see the proposed cuts, if they go through, they're devastating for Massachusetts residents, for families, for employers, for our economy, for people across the state. And this doesn't just impact Mass Health or the Connector. Let's talk about nursing homes. Nursing homes will close. If these cuts go through, nursing homes will close. That means less care for our parents and our grandparents. It means seniors not being able to go to a nursing home for rehab after surgery. They're going to have to rely on family members, neighbors, who knows, to care for them instead. Hospitals. Hospitals, which you know are already fragile as it is in our country, are going to be even more at risk because more people without coverage will be flooding their emergency rooms. Health centers that depend on Medicaid reimbursements will be hit hard. And some of these hospitals and healthcare centers in Massachusetts will not survive, will close if these cuts go through. That means, of course, that people are going to be put even further away from care. Longer wait times for appointments, doctors and nurses stretched even more thin than they are already. Imagine having to travel further to have your baby, to get an x-ray, to get care for your kids, to get that needed MRI. This is all what's going to happen if these cuts go through. This, of course, comes on top of the cuts we've already seen to medical research. The budget proposal that they're trying to jam through doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense from a healthcare point of view and no sense from a cost savings point of view either. Because this proposal isn't going to save money or cut the deficit. What this does is just give the Republicans in Congress and Donald Trump more money to pay for the tax cuts that they want to give to the richest of the rich. So this is a call to action. Everybody needs to understand what's at stake. I ask that everybody use that information and be an advocate. Use your voice. Let the White House and the Senate know to not let these cuts happen. We can't let them happen. We can't let them take away health care from our people here in Massachusetts, from our seniors, our families, our veterans, from young kids, from people with disabilities. We can't let hospitals and healthcare centers close here in Massachusetts. We can't see nursing homes close. So let's do everything we can to protect healthcare in our state, and that means fighting back against what is going on in Washington. And with that, I want to invite Senator Elizabeth Warren up to speak, who has been a champion for so many things, especially when it comes to fighting for people's access to health care. Senator Warren.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Governor. It's a real honor to stand here with the governor, with the senator, with the mayor, with the doctors, with the people who fight for health care here in the Commonwealth. I am grateful for that, and I look forward to the fact that when we partner up, that's how we make real change. So last week, the House of Representatives passed Donald Trump's big, beautiful bill. This would be the greatest transfer of wealth from just one piece of legislation from the poorest Americans to the richest Americans ever before in U.S. history. Think about that. These guys are actually out there making history by taking away from hardworking families, from people down on their luck, from seniors, from little babies, so that a handful of billionaires and corporate CEOs can get more giveaways from the government. That is the Republican plan. Billionaires win, everyone else loses. Now, the details are gruesome on this bill. This bill would cut Medicaid, gut the Affordable Care Act, and slash food assistance. If it passes the Senate, this bill will rip health care away from 14 million people, over 250,000 right here in Massachusetts, all to pay for handouts to billionaires. This Republican bill will raise costs for working families, from groceries to health care to utility bills, while making the richest Americans even richer. Here in Massachusetts, the consequences will be severe. In our state, Medicaid is known as Mass Health, and it covers almost 2 million people. If this bill passes, every one of them will be at risk of losing their health coverage. That is 1/3 of all newborn babies and their mamas right here in Massachusetts at risk for losing their health care. That's checkups and trips to the doctor for ear infections, and money for asthma medications and for antibiotics for more than 1/3 of all the children right here in Massachusetts. That's paying the monthly bills for almost 2/3 of all nursing home residents right here in Massachusetts. As the governor said, the pain will echo through our communities, hitting even those who don't currently receive direct care. Without the guaranteed payments from Medicaid, our hospitals and our community health centers are at risk. Community hospitals, even with Medicaid reimbursement, are already struggling. And right now, nearly half the funding for Massachusetts community health centers, which saves money by preventing people from needing to go to the emergency room, half their money currently comes from Medicaid that is on the chopping block by the Republicans. When those hospitals and community health centers are forced to close, we all lose. Now, right now, you probably know someone who counts on Medicaid to pay for the medicine that helps treat their cancer. You probably know someone who got the hip replacement they needed so that they can walk, paid for by Medicaid. You probably know someone whose kid gets their inhaler from Medicaid, or the nursing home that takes care of their aging parents. And all of those are at risk. This is a full-blown crisis, and we are here to sound the alarm. I'm here with Governor Healy and with the senators and everyone behind me because we believe that no one in America should go without health care so that Elon Musk can take a rocket ship ride to Mars. We believe that no senior should be kicked to the curb because Mark Zuckerberg wants to buy another Hawaiian island. And we believe that no one with a disability who needs a home health aide should have to give that up so that Jeff Bezos can buy a third yacht. We believe that, and that is why we are here to fight back. I am proud to stand beside the governor and beside the senators, beside the mayor, to make sure that everyone in Massachusetts and around the country gets the health care that they deserve. And with that, I will turn it over to a wonderful partner and a tremendous fighter in the United States Senate, my partner, Ed Markey.
Thank you so much.
Senator Markey.
Thank you, Senator Warren, so much for your great leadership on this issue. To Governor Healy, thank you for your great leadership. Mayor Keefe, Dr. Curry, Jill Batty, Dennis Heapy, Senator Lydia Edwards, Amy Rosenthal, and Kate Walsh. Thank you all so much for all of the great work which you do. This is an historic battle, which we are right now in the middle of. This is going to be the defining battle over the Trump administration's Make America Sick Again agenda. And whether or not Donald Trump and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are going to be successful in implementing this gutting of essential health care programs for our nation. Lyndon Johnson, when he signed Medicare and Medicaid into law back in 1965, he basically was going to attempt to ensure that the poor in our country got the same level of health care as the rich. Now it's 60 years later, and Speaker Johnson and Donald Trump and his MAGA acolytes are all marching towards the biggest cuts in the history of Medicaid and Medicare. Republicans want to slash $762 billion from Medicaid. They want to cut $500 billion from Medicare. They want to make it harder for people to be able to get their health insurance. By gutting Medicaid, Republicans are looking to loot a program that has guaranteed health care to 72 million Americans, including 2 million here in the state of Massachusetts. They're looking to steal from a program that pays for 70% of people who are in nursing homes are on Medicaid. 50% of all children in our nation are on Medicaid. That's the program that the Republicans are seeking to loot. The program that keeps grandma and grandpa in nursing homes, the program that takes care of 50% of the children in our nation, all in order to have a tax break for the wealthiest people in our nation. Providers are going to lose their jobs. It'll be harder for families to find a pediatrician, harder for people to get mental health care, harder for seniors to get help as they age. Families will lose access to care. And as millions more Americans lose their health insurance, skip appointments, ration medications, the billionaires who can afford concierge medicine will get yet another handout from the government. The rich will get richer in our nation, and the sick will get sicker. That's what this bill is all about. Instead of fighting for guaranteed health care for all, Republicans have left us defending the scraps. And this isn't a big, beautiful bill, as Donald Trump would call it. It is a big billionaire bonus and a bludgeoning of the healthcare system in our nation. But the fight to save Medicaid and Medicare is far from over. Now the package comes over to the Senate. Senator Josh Hawley is right. It's wrong to cut Medicaid, and it will also be political suicide for the Republicans in Congress. And we're going to make that case to them every single day on the floor of the Senate. Senator Warren and I are committed to that battle. Today, we will use all of our efforts to stop these cuts. We cannot agonize. We're going to organize. We're going to use this opportunity to put every Republican on record on every one of these cuts. We're going to make sure every Republican is seen by every American who wants to ensure that billionaires get tax breaks at the expense of ordinary people on the streets. We're going to slow down and stop this big billion.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right now, you're watching live as leaders in Massachusetts are visiting the Cambridge Health Alliance's Revere Care Center. Now, they are sounding the alarm because they say there are devastating impacts of President Trump's bill in Congress that would take away health care from children, families, seniors, veterans, and people with disabilities across that state. Now, that press conference is happening live. That is Senator Ed Markey right there on your screen. And your bottom right is the Karen Reed trial. It is now in its 6th week. We continue to keep an eye and follow that trial as it continues. And on your bottom, on your top right above that is the State Department briefing that just got underway. We want to take you there live now. That is spokesperson Tammy Bruce speaking. Let's take a listen in.
No additional Americans are falling into this trap. Our simple message for Americans: do not travel to Venezuela. The Secretary's highest priority is the safety and security of the American people. And thank you, everyone, especially everyone listening at home, for heeding this warning. Now, turning to Syria. There have been several major steps over the weekend to enact President Trump's vision of a prosperous Middle East and a stable Syria at peace with itself and its neighbors. U.S. Ambassador to Turkey Thomas Barak assumed the role of U.S. Special Envoy to Syria, and he met with Syrian President Ahmad al-Sharaa and Foreign Minister Assad al-Shabani in Istanbul. We also have taken significant steps to lift sanctions against Syria. On Friday, Secretary Rubio waived Caesar Act sanctions for 180 days, and the U.S. Treasury Department announced General License 25 and other relief measures. We are engaging with regional and global partners to open investment in Syria. The cessation of sanctions against Syria will advance our primary objective, the enduring defeat of ISIS, by giving the people of Syria a chance for a better future. The United States will remain focused on the mission to defeat ISIS and eliminating terrorists who threaten Americans. And that is our announcement. Some very good news, obviously. Many of us, we've all been talking about this from the beginning of my being at this podium. So it's a pleasure to give you some more specifics. And of course, with Special Envoy Barak, I think we're in very, very good hands. Let's start, surprisingly, with Matt Lee.
Thank you, Tammy. I want to ask about Gaza, but do you know off the top of your head, or is it written down someplace, how many Americans are currently designated as wrongfully detained in Venezuela?
Yes, those are numbers that we will not share. That's a dynamic that we consider, of course, an important diplomatic dynamic as well as a national security dynamic. So no, I won't be giving you those numbers.
All right. On Gaza,
yes.
What is the situation there, as you understand it, with the GHF and their first shipment or shipments?
Yes. Well, last week we knew there were some numbers. We weren't able to give everybody some specific numbers, but I have some additional numbers for you as well. We have great news to report out of Gaza. I like being able to be asked about it, and we can talk about the numbers that are going in. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, under the humanitarian principles of independence and impartiality, has commenced providing life-saving aid to the people of Gaza who desperately need it. Approximately 8,000 food boxes have been distributed so far. Each box feeds 5.5 people for 3.5 days, totaling 462,000 meals. And so those are the kinds of numbers, I think, as we're looking at what's important in moving that kind of aid through the area.
Right, but there was apparently some incidents today involving potentially shots being, or at least warning shots being fired, and hundreds.
Well, yes, Hamas still has weapons. Hamas is in a situation here where all of this could have stopped, of course, if they had released the hostages and put down their weapons, but they refused to do so. They've also rejected ceasefires. So that's, without confirming what might be gossip or single reports, the fact of the matter is Hamas has been opposed to this dynamic. They have attempted to stop the aid movement through Gaza to these distribution centers. They have failed, but they certainly tried. The bottom line is, the real story here is that the aid is moving through, and in that kind of an environment, it's not surprising that there might be a few issues involved, but the good news is that those seeking to get aid to the people of Gaza, which is not Hamas, have succeeded.
And last one, really briefly.
Yes.
I won't take up any more time, but my understanding is that the administration is not particularly happy with the position that the UN and its agencies have taken with regard to these shipments. Is that correct?
Well, it is. From the very beginning, we had I'd mentioned and we had heard about the resistance by certain NGOs and the UN. It is unfortunate because the issue here is getting aid to Gazans. And then suddenly it moves into complaints about style or the nature of who's doing it or elements of administration and being opposed to getting food and aid, as we've demonstrated here, is happening and will continue to happen because someone might feel left out. Is, I think, the height of hypocrisy. So the bottom line is that clearly people who care about the nature of solving this problem are taking action and moving it forward, and that's what counts. That's what matters. Yes, Andrea. Yes, ma'am.
Cindy McCain of the World Food Program was on CBS yesterday with a very different narrative, and we are hearing from the ground today from our reporters and producers and camera crews that this incident was very serious, that it was not Hamas related. Cindy McCain said that Hamas is not breaking up the food deliveries, that people are starving and there are food riots because people are desperate. And the criticism of the GHF has been that it is not independent or impartial, that it was started by the Netanyahu government with people who are supposedly independent, and that it is only operating in the South, deliberately designed with 4 distribution points in the South in order to have people in the North move south for the aid and therefore accelerate the movement of people and the putting people in the South rather than in the North where they wanted to be. So there were a lot of controversies about this from the ground, from all of our reporting. McCain said that no one had approached the World Food Program, which is still delivering food into Gaza, that people have been desperate. No one had, she had met with, as you know, the secretary. She said she welcomed that, was grateful for it, that the Rubio and McCain families have been friends for decades, but that they had a frank conversation about what's happening between Israel and the food deliveries, and that no one had even told them about this foundation or given them.
Well, Andrea, this is where again there's certainly, and this is something the world is watching, something we've all cared about getting resolved. It is not an uncomplicated situation. This is, however, the first delivery of major aid, if not the only aid we've been hearing for months. I wish that Cindy McCain had spoken up, that they had found a way to move food into Gaza, because that certainly hadn't been conveyed to us. But now, which if that's the case, that's great. What I do know is that the people on the ground now, as the number I told you, I think is rather significant, 462,000 meals. You know, that's what we're focused on. And that this is, and I'm not going to address either gossip or complaints or people who knew or weren't included or would do it a different way or who's shooting at whom. That Hamas, it's not Hamas. The real story here, the story is that aid and food is moving into Gaza at a massive scale at this point when you're looking at 8,000 food boxes. Was this going to be like going to the mall or through a drive-through? No, it wasn't. This is a complicated environment, and the story is the fact that it's working. I find it difficult that there are people who would go on television shows to complain about a process that is working and moving food into the area.
Jenny,
will it improve over time? Would anything that we do improve over time? Yes, in all likelihood. And I think anyone would welcome someone like Mrs. McCain or anyone else who has a method within which to contribute to this effort to be able to do so instead of going on television and complaining. And that's the real story is that this is succeeding, and I think we should all at least have the courage to embrace that.
But until now, there has been a blockade a blockade by Israel of the food. So no one has been able to get through
Well, I
those
thought you just said,
processes.
Cindy McCain said that she was able to do that, but I would also say that this process managed to overcome that dynamic, and the dynamic has changed. Whatever it was that was hindering the nature of aid to the Gazan people has been overcome. It clearly needs to expand. I don't speak for this foundation, but clearly we've got to welcome any dynamic that allows getting aid and food into the region, which is happening right now, and that's the story. Nadia.
Thank you, Tammy. Two questions. I understand this is the beginning of a process. For the time being, the delivery of food is at two places, which is Tal Sultan and the Murag crossing. Is this any guarantee that people who come from the north to receive this food, are they allowed to go back? Because that's the fear, that basically this is a way to move the population from the north to the south. And do you have any plan that they will expand it to go to other places?
Well,
in
it's
the
not,
north?
this is not a State Department effort. We don't have a plan. I can't answer that regarding the nature of how certain situations would be responded to. I'm not going to speculate or say what they should or should not do. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation has an email. They should be reached out to, and that's what I'd recommend regarding plans to expand, plans to make assessments of what's worked and what hasn't at this point, and what changes they might make, and what the goal is. Clearly, the goal is to reach as many people as possible. Yes, sir. Yeah. Go ahead, please.
The Israeli Minister of Strategic Affairs is in town, according to Israeli media. Has there been any meeting between him and Secretary Rubio? And can you update us on the state of talks between Iran and the U.S.? Is there a new meeting planned ahead?
Well, I will not discuss, as you might imagine, any meetings or conversations the Secretary's having that are not public or may not be happening. Regarding the latest rounds of talks regarding Iran, we can tell you that Senior Advisor and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, of course, and Policy Planning Director Michael Anton participated in a 5th round of talks with Iran on Friday, May 23rd in Rome. The discussions were both direct and indirect and lasted over 2 hours. The talks continue to be constructive. That's not something that we've been able to say that in these particular talks, which is beneficial, and in this case they were constructive as well, and we made further progress. Both sides have agreed to meet again in the near future, and we are grateful to, once again, our Omani partners for their continued facilitation of the process. All right? Yes, sir.
Just to follow up on the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation,
sure.
I think you talked about independence and neutrality that was involved in this new foundation, but I mean, quite clearly that's not the case. I mean, the IDF itself has said this has been done in coordination with it and the foundation, so it's clearly being done, and the security of it is carried out by, on the perimeter, Israeli forces and then American security contractors. The problem with that, and what all the experts in the United Nations say, is that you therefore have a situation where the aid is provided by an organisation that seems to be a party to the conflict, and that's what the UN has always avoided, because you potentially made the recipients targets, and we're seeing that already, potentially, in that this has become a very militarised form of aid. So I'm just interested in why you describe this as independent and neutral when it clearly doesn't appear to be so.
Well, again, I don't speak for this foundation. What I can tell you is the description of the nature of what they're accomplishing, which is getting food and aid into that region. I'll say that just one more time. There are some disagreements about how that's being handled, how that's being implemented. But I think that most of us would agree that this is good news, that it, in any other mechanism, under any other expectation, was not able to accomplish this. So it's
just that there was another mechanism that was able to accomplish this and more.
Well, you know, you're right. We did have a really good mechanism. It was called a ceasefire, which Hamas broke. And it is a ceasefire and a plan that had been operating and offered, which they continually refused to accept, continued to hold hostages, as they still continued to not just hold hostages, but the bodies of the people that they've murdered. And they've refused to do the one thing that could stop this in a moment. They've refused. So we did. We had it was a ceasefire, and Special Envoy Witkoff very successful, and Hamas decided, well, that was just too much of that. So the real story here is that there's food aid going in. There will be people, of course, who will look at some of the details and not like it. But then I think it shows us the priorities of certain individuals when it comes to, at first it was, let's get these people fed, and now it seems to be something else in the meantime. Yes, sir, go ahead.
Thank you, Tammy.
Yes. Wait, no, sir. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know who's speaking, but go ahead.
Thank you, Tammy. Last week I asked you a question about the deals signed between the Kurdistan region government and 2 U.S. firms.
You know what? We need to turn his microphone up, and you've got to keep your head up.
I'll repeat the question.
Keep your head up.
Last week I asked you a question about the recent deals signed between the Kurdistan region government and 2 U.S. firms, the energy deals. And you encouraged Baghdad to work with Erbil to resolve the issues. But this week, the Iraqi oil ministry has filed lawsuits against the 2 deals with the American firms. So any reaction to that, and how this impacts the U.S. firms' incentive to invest in the region? And I have another question regarding that.
Yes. Last week we discussed some of the difficulties here, but as I said last week, worth repeating today with this new news, is that the United States supports economic deals that benefit all Iraqis, including the 2 announced last week. We encourage Baghdad and Erbil to work together to expand domestic gas production as soon as possible. These types of economic partnerships will benefit both the American and Iraqi peoples and help Iraq move toward energy independence. U.S. oil companies have invested billions of dollars in the Iraqi Kurdistan region sector. We hope to see additional investment from U.S. oil companies throughout Iraq. We know, of course, last week Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with Iraqi Kurdistan Regional Government Prime Minister Mansour Barzani in Washington, also on Friday, May 23rd, a busy day here. Secretary Rubio and Prime Minister Barzani discussed opportunities to further increase trade and investment between the United States and the Iraqi Kurdistan region. The Secretary commended the Prime Minister for finalizing deals with U.S. companies to expand natural gas production in the IKR, which will help Iraq move toward energy independence. The Secretary and Prime Minister discussed their mutual interests in protecting the rights of religious and ethnic minorities in Iraq and Syria. The Secretary also reaffirmed U.S. support for a strong and resilient IKR as a foundational pillar of the relationship between that the United States enjoys with Iraq. We also believe that U.S. and Iraqi interests are best served by having a strong, resilient Iraqi Kurdistan region within a sovereign and prosperous federal Iraq, and we continue to support U.S. companies doing business in all of Iraq, including trade and investment between the United States and the IKR. As far as the nature of the lawsuits, it's, again, obviously we are looking forward to continuing these kinds of deals. We expect these kinds of deals to flourish and expect and would hope that they would be facilitated. But it's, again, we've got to underscore the importance of an independent and energy independent region, and this is one way that we're going to be able to do it.
And another question on Iraq,
sure.
In separate issue. Do you confirm if there's any U.S. involvement in any negotiations with Iraq to release Elizabeth Tsurkov, an Israeli-Russian academy kidnapped nearly 2 years ago in Baghdad? Has the Israeli government requested assistance from the U.S. government in this regard?
I do have something I can tell you on this. There is some reports regarding an exchange discussed. Those reports are categorically false, although we remain committed to existing discussions regarding her, and we have and will continue to underscore with the Iraqi government the urgency of securing her release, that is, Elizabeth Tsurkov's release. All right, yes.
2 questions. Today in Turkey, Foreign Minister Lavrov suggested there was some sort of prisoner exchange deal between Presidents Putin and Trump. Is there any light you can shed onto that?
No, there's nothing. I have nothing to report to you about that.
Separately,
not at all.
There's reporting that the administration may require all foreign students to undergo social media vetting, and that embassies and consulates are pausing.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertman. Right there live is spokesperson Tammy Bruce for the State Department as she holds her weekly briefing that is underway. We want to shift now to Atlanta, Georgia, where Carroll County, which is technically in the Atlanta metro area, but is closer to Alabama, right there on the line. They are under a tornado warning. So our content partners there in Atlanta, WXIA, 11 Alive, is in continuous coverage right now. Let's take a listen in.
Warning for a potential tornado in those areas, and this is still saying that it is radar indicated. So the Weather Service has not given us any indication that this signature is strong enough for it to be an actual confirmed tornado yet. We will wait and see. If that happens, this red polygon that you see here will turn purple if they indicate that this is then a confirmed tornado. We're seeing that a little bit of that debris signature kind of changing colors a little bit. There's another little bit, again, this is not a definite confirmation of an actual tornado on the ground, but here are the colors here kind of ramping up on the north side of this too with our debris finder. That could be, again, some lofted debris, whether or not, again, it's leaves, pine needles, or actual pieces of structure or anything that's just blowing around out there and getting lofted up that our radar is able to determine. So I'm going to widen out so you can see both of these tornado warnings that we have right now, and I'm going to go back to the velocity mode. Two of these tornado warnings, both of them expiring at 3 o'clock, and both of them mainly just for Carroll County. So we've got this one in the central parts of Carroll County, moving closer to Carrollton, and this one down near Roopville and just to the south of Roopville. That also is continuing to move over to the east, and we'll widen out just a little bit more so you can get a good look to still see that Carrollton, you are included in this polygon right here for a tornado warning. So from Roopville to Carrollton there on Highway 27 is where actually both of these rotations could be crossing over 27 pretty soon. I think this one around just south of Roopville will most likely move a little bit over 27 a little bit earlier. Back to the shear markers right here, and again, what we're looking for, these blue colors right here, those are indicating two areas of suspicion of possible rotation. This one at Tyus Carrollton Road, all right, and then here's Roopville, and just south of Roopville, all right, there's Highway 27. There's this other potential rotation right around Stony Point. Okay, now that just moved with the latest scan here, so that may have let up a little bit. The other one is still holding together, though. That is crossing over and just a little bit more to the east of Tyus Carrollton Road. As we were watching our rotation tracker here near that Tyus, that would be north of Roopville. Also getting closer to Highway 27 right there. That's a little bit to the west of the Clem area, and that is also just south of Carrollton. So even though I mentioned Carrollton, you're in the polygon here, the circulation that we still see is really right down here between Carrollton and Roopville, just a little bit north of the Roopville area. Let's go back to velocity, and again, it's not we actually were seeing a better indicators there from our shear markers, but there you can see it would be this area right here where we see that potential rotation still, and then that would be lining up just south of Roopville. Two areas in Carroll County where Doppler radar is indicating the potential for rotation within the same county and along that line of strong storms that are pushing through, crossing over the state line into West Georgia and moving a little bit closer to the Atlanta area. And again, I want to show these areas of a severe thunderstorm warning north of I-20, where we have these storms coming into areas of Polk County, Haralson County, and Paulding County, and clipping North Carroll right there. So this one, that yellow polygon just north of I-20, we're keeping an eye on that to see if we see any rotation coming from that. And then this one along I-20 and southward in Carroll County for a severe thunderstorm warning, also into these areas of Heard County where we have a severe thunderstorm warning, northern Troup County as well, going into Coweta County and into far western parts of Douglas County. And within both of those severe thunderstorm warnings, at any time, we can see rotation developing. And we've already seen that in 2 spots now in Carroll County, where we have 2 tornado warnings in effect with 2 areas of rotation there right now. Danielle Moss is here with us. Danielle, you're tracking what the National Weather Service is saying, and I haven't been able to see it. I don't think we have any damage reports yet. Are they giving us any indications of anything else with these storms?
No, they have not. Right now, the University of West Georgia emergency manager, he just said that he's monitoring the campus very closely. I don't think that there's a lot of students on campus because, like you just said, a lot of people are out for summer break, but there could be some athletes there. There could be some band members on campus just preparing for the start of the fall. Right now, no damage reports at all coming in from these storms that are coming through Carroll County. However, we have heard of past damage as they came through Randolph County's trees down once again, and that has been the case over the last few days when these storms have been developing. The one thing, like you said, Chris, with this rotation, if just out of precaution, if you are in along Highway 27 and Oakmount Parkway in Clem, Cross Plains, I would be in your safe place right now because we're just seeing kind of the same instances with this rotation. In fact, if we put our shear tracks on, and I'll zoom out a little bit, what this is, this lets us see how the storm came in, right? So the blue shows that it has held rotation coming in from Alabama, and now as it crosses Highway 27, that is continuing on with that rotation. So if you are in Whitesburg, go ahead and get into your safe place at this time. I'll put the shear marker back on so we can see, and it still has that one little blue speck. Highway 27 right now headed towards State Route 166, Clem, Cross Plains, Clem, Lowell Road, Lowell, Star Point, Roopville. All of you all need to be in your safe place at this time. Get away from your windows. Make sure you have something to maybe put over your head. Make sure that you are being very precautious, because anytime we see these winds very high, and right now it does indicate that there could be some rotation in these storms, you could definitely be seeing at least trees come down. So you want to be away from your windows and make sure your family is in that safe place if possible. Get into a hallway that has no windows, a bathroom, in a tub, wherever you need to be, because as of right now, we're definitely seeing some pretty good indicators that this warning could be producing a tornado. And it looks like, Chris, they did just expire one of those tornado warnings in Carroll County, but exactly where we're talking about right now, near Roopville, Star Point, and Lowell, this goes until 3 o'clock p.m. and it's 2:42 right now. In fact, I'm going to put a storm track on here really quickly so that we can have a little bit more detail about where we are watching for the strongest point of this storm. I'm going to start from Star Point, and I'm going to go eastward. So it pulls up the same places like we were talking about: Star Point, Lowell, Whitesburg. Star Point at 2:43 p.m. That's right now. So right now, if you are in Star Point, you need to be in your safe place. Lowell at 2:56 p.m. Whitesburg at 3:41 p.m. Want to make sure that you are in your safe place at this time. Chris, right now, I'm not seeing any indications or anything from the people in Carroll or Coweta counties of any damage right now.
All right, Danielle, thank you. And you are correct. As you were talking there, many of you saw the red polygon on the north side there, the one that was including Carrollton, that did disappear, and that tornado warning was canceled because they said the rotation within that had fallen apart. So we just have one left here, and I know this is hard to see, but there is still, in fact, I'll take the radar off just for a moment so you can see here that we still have that polygon in there for. Okay, you see it right there? All right, so this one is still in effect from Roopville over to the east to right along Highway 5. The one that did include Carrollton, that warning has just been canceled because the National Weather Service said that their indicators of that possible tornado had fallen apart. So they canceled that one about 15 minutes before the warning was to expire, as we don't see any of that rotation anymore. And actually, the run in Roopville right now doesn't look as impressive as it did earlier. I don't know if you can see here. Yeah, we're seeing a little bit of rotation north of Roopville, but it would actually be in this area down here where we will be looking for any more of those other markers right now. So we'll wait and see if they're going to hold on to this one as well. Over in West Georgia, they're in the far southern parts of Carroll County. So again, there is that red polygon that you see right here coming out of Roopville, and it looks like they just issued another severe thunderstorm warning over near Central Hatchie. Okay, so here's another area of potential debris and potential rotation. Danielle and I are kind of analyzing this while we're on the fly. Let me look at the velocity as well. So this is an area south of Central Hatchie. This is in Heard County. We do not have a tornado warning in this area yet, but we're beginning to see some interesting features showing up right now on radar where we do have that severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect. It would not surprise me if at any moment now the National Weather Service could potentially issue a tornado warning for those areas of Heard County. So for those of you in Heard County right now, if you're watching us, you do not have a tornado warning. I would go ahead though and treat this near and just south of Central Hatchie. I would go ahead and get in your safe positions, your safe place right now, the lowest floor of your home, get into the basement of your home there. Take cover just because we're seeing some indicators right now on radar of potential debris signatures showing up there. Again, this is not a confirmation of a tornado there. You don't have a warning just south and near Central Hatchie and Heard County, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we see a warning come up there within the next few minutes. So we're going to keep an eye on this. We're not really seeing that debris signature that we had earlier south of Roopville. We're not really seeing that anymore, and we don't see a debris signature to the north of that anymore either from that other one. They're about to
cancel it.
Okay, they're about to cancel this warning there in southern Carroll County, but I want to keep an eye on this one. Okay, you just saw that red polygon disappear. So we did have 2 tornado warnings in Carroll County. Both of those were supposed to expire at 3 o'clock. Now, the rotation that was indicated on our Doppler radar has now gone away. The National Weather Service feels like the threat is over for a potential tornado there. So they just let both of those expire. I want to hang on air with you guys, though, a little bit longer because I want to keep an eye on this in Central Hatchie. I'm not liking what we're seeing here. Danielle just saw this on the debris finder. Again, this is not a confirmation of any type of tornado there, but these are just some of the indicators that we watch where we could see some debris lofted up into the air there. Our velocity mode isn't really showing much from that. So that's a good sign. We're not really seeing anything with that. But for those of you in those areas of Heard County, just south of Carroll County, we're going to stay with you until we feel more confident that this area is not going to develop into something any bigger, or that the Weather Service would have to issue a warning out of that there near the Central Hatchie area. That's north of Franklin and south and east of Ephesus for that area there. Again, I'm going to put it back on reflectivity. This is the mode that shows us where we have the heavy rain coming in. This is a very dynamic situation that's coming in.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there, you're watching live coverage from our content partners there in Atlanta, Georgia, WXIA. That is Chief Meteorologist there, Chris Holcomb. There was a tornado warning in the Carroll County area of Georgia. That is right there by the Alabama, or right there on the Alabama border. The tornado warning has expired, but they're keeping their eye on an active system right there. It looks like around Carrollton, approaching Peachtree City. That's still in the Atlanta metro area. But we want to keep it here as Chief Meteorologist Chris Holcomb sort of guides us through the storm and what happens next. Let's take a listen in.
Until 9 o'clock. These storms, if you were watching us yesterday, these storms are actually coming into West Georgia a couple of hours earlier than we were anticipating. We were thinking this line would be pushing into West Georgia around 4 o'clock. This was as of last night. I know that this morning Melissa was updating that timeline for you, kind of bringing them in a little bit earlier. Now here we are at 2:49, almost 3 o'clock, and that line is coming in just a little bit earlier there in West Georgia. So the National Weather Service issued a severe thunderstorm watch generally along I-20 and south of I-20, not including Fulton or DeKalb. It didn't include Douglas. It did include Carroll County. Also, it included Heard County, Coweta County, over into Fayette, Clayton, Henry County, over to Butts County, Jasper County, and Putnam County. That line down to the south of Macon, including much of central Georgia, is where we have this severe thunderstorm watch in effect until 9 o'clock. The reason North Georgia is not included in that watch much is because of that wedge that I told you about, the cooler, shallow layer of air there in areas of North Georgia, where as this line of storms moves in, we expect it to weaken somewhat as it pushes through our area. And that would keep the warmer, more unstable air to the south, and it would be those areas on the south side where we would have a better chance for these storms to hold together. So let's take you back here with that explanation. In fact, before I go back to radar, I want to show you the actual temperatures that we're talking about here in North Georgia, so you can see that wedge that we're talking about. Notice the difference. And you see these colors, the green indicating the not as warm air, cooler air around there, and then down to the south, it is much warmer. So I'm going to plot these temperatures on, and you can see in Atlanta, we're 67 degrees, Duluth is 66, Gainesville's 59, Clayton 57, Athens 63, Covington 64. So that is that cool pool of air. But once you get down into Peachtree City, it is 70. A few miles down the road to LaGrange, it is 82 degrees. That is the warmer, more unstable air. So as these storms push in, the warmer, more unstable air is what's going to help to kind of fuel those storms on the south side, whereas as they come into the metro area and move more over to the east, they kind of hit that cool pool, shallow layer of air, and a lot of these storms will begin to fall apart somewhat. We'll still get some rain, we'll still get some thunder and lightning, but the severity of those storms will be knocked down just a little bit more. Let's go back to radar. I want to check on that storm that we were watching back in central Hatchie, there in the northern parts of Heard County. Now this line still looks very impressive. They're kind of shrinking up this warning a little bit, kind of following along the line. So those of you in western Polk and western Haralson County, you're no longer in the severe thunderstorm warning. Also western Carroll County and northwestern Heard County, you're no longer in that severe thunderstorm warning. But that line, that leading edge now over Carrollton, over Texas, that is about to move into Douglas County. South Fulton is right here, Coweta right here. You would be next in line. In fact, you see here our tower cam right there, that's in Noonan in Coweta County. This tower cam is at I-85 North there at US 29. That's in Coweta. Okay, so another look there at Coweta County from our traffic cameras there as well. So these storms moving through very quickly. Danielle, you have new information?
Yeah, they just issued a ground stop at the airport until 3:30 p.m. So there's no planes taking off right now from Hartsfield Jackson until 3:30 p.m. Also, right now we are not hearing of any damage reports from anyone at the National Weather Service here in Peachtree City, but along that edge that came through Alabama, numerous trees are down, as well as some power outages as well. I want to call out some towns for you because, like Chris was saying, this leading edge is continuing to push forward and is still kind of holding its strength, and he's right on the money talking about the temperatures. When I started live streaming at 2 p.m., LaGrange was 80 degrees. However, in North Georgia, it was 60 degrees, and you can see why now these storms are starting to hold together a little bit. So if you are in Noonan, this storm is going to be at your doorstep at 3:05 p.m. and it's 2:53. If you are streaming, add extra time to that because the stream is coming in a little bit delayed. Palmetto at 3:28 p.m., Peachtree City at 3:40 p.m., Union City at 3:51 p.m., College Park at 4:08 p.m., East Point at 4:10 p.m., Gresham Park at 4:31 p.m., Griffin at 4:41 p.m., and McDonough at 4:57 p.m. So that is where the leading edge of this line is headed. You want to make sure that you are aware of that. I know a lot of people, it's 2:53 right now. A lot of people, if you had to go back to work today, you were there at the office. You might be watching us on your phone. You might know someone who had to go inside the office today. If they have to commute in the next 2-3 hours, which is rush hour, give them a heads up. Take your time getting there. We're definitely going to be seeing some really heavy rainfall headed throughout the metro right now, and it's on the way as well. As of right now, Chris, that's the only update that I have for you. And if you are flying, this is going to now create a mess. In fact, if we pull up, this is a look at our airport camera. Well, I had it pulled up.
I've got it on mine here.
Okay, so
there we go, right there.
Yes, it's not quite raining just yet, but yeah. There's a ground stop there.
But there is a ground stop. There are some planes there, most likely maybe going back to the gates, or the last little bits of the ones that one is taking off there. The last ones, though, that were most likely lining up for takeoff are taking off right now. But the other planes that are there in the hangars, or actually there in the terminals, most likely will not be leaving the terminals until that ground stop stop is lifted, as we don't have the rain there yet, but the National Weather Service, or actually the airport, is doing this ahead of those storms that are moving in to make sure not only flyers, pilots are safe, but they're also having to keep in mind the ground crews as well. The folks who are out on the tarmac getting your luggage out of the plane, they cannot be out there in the storms or in lightning. So that's part of that decision-making process there too for Hartsfield-Jackson. Now let's go back here to radar. What we're going to do, I think we'll be staying on at least until 3 o'clock until I get any other direction from the control room. We want to just make sure that as this line comes in, we don't see any other rotation developing. And the 2 tornado warnings were canceled 10 minutes ago. But I wanted to make sure that we aren't seeing any additional rotation developing there that was causing any concern. Danielle, I'm looking at the debris finder. I don't see anything standing out right now. And as far as velocity looks, I don't really see anything outstanding right now either for any additional rotation developing here. So
I agree. If
our control room is okay, I think at 3 o'clock we'll take everybody back to their regular scheduled programming unless anybody else has any other. Now what we will do, if we do take you back to programming there at the top of the hour at 3, we're going to continue streaming though on 11 Alive Plus. You'll also be able to see this stream on our website and on your phone on the mobile app too, 11 Alive mobile app, as we're watching these storms come in. If additional warnings are issued or if we detect any more rotation out of that, we'll break back into programming here on 11 Alive. But we're going to take you up to the top of the hour here for Jennifer Hudson starting at 3 o'clock. We are watching these showers and storms moving through, but as of right now, no tornado warnings in effect. The 2 tornado warnings that we had in effect that were supposed to be in effect until 3 o'clock were canceled around 2:44 and 2:46 because that rotation that looked strong enough on radar to indicate a possible tornado has diminished. So we still have the severe thunderstorm warning in effect, and let's see here. The other warning that we had north of I-20 was canceled. The one that we were telling you about in parts of Polk County, Haralson County, and in western Paulding, that was canceled. And are they giving it, is this one tour possible, Danielle? Were you able to see?
It is tour possible. Okay. And they are just concerned about that one area with the Boeing right now. That's the latest update.
What you see here, you heard Danielle mention Boeing, all right? When you see this line kind of surge forward a little bit, almost like a bow, this is where we can have some really strong winds with that Boeing part of that system. We again are not seeing really anything that is indicative of rotation still with it, but we do have really strong winds here in association with this over in West Georgia, across still well over the state line right now. This is the live look at that right now, and what I want you to see, and we point this out a lot, when you go from green to yellow to orange to red in a very thin band like that, that is where you go from having no rain at all to 1 minute later a lot of heavy rain. And a lot of times along a line like this where you see that thin band going from green to yellow to orange to red just in that little bit right there, that is also an indicator of some strong winds. And then when you see the line bowing out, or a little bit of that line kind of surging ahead of the rest of it, that's a bowing out feature that we see. That is also indicative of some strong winds in association with that system pushing through. So there's the latest scan that just came in. This is just now moving into southern Fulton County. There's the tip of South Fulton right there. Here's Noonan. You see the tower cam of Noonan right here, and you see those clouds that are getting darker over toward the Noonan area as we're going to see that rain coming into Noonan in just a little bit. So what we're going to do here in about 30 seconds, we're going to take you back to regular scheduled programming at the top of the hour with Jennifer Hudson, but Danielle and I are not going anywhere. We are still here monitoring this system. We're going to just let you go to regular programming. We will continue streaming this storm and these storms on 11 Alive Plus. Download that on your television, and 11 Alive Plus, you'll be able to see us continue streaming here, there, and you can also find that on 11alive.com as we are watching these storms get closer to Atlanta.
right, folks, Vanessa Rufus taking over in the Live Impact News studio. Thanks for sticking with us here on WCNC Plus. As you just heard, our team out in Atlanta covering some severe weather impacts. They're switching over some of their programming here to kind of get onto their stream fully. Looks like they are keeping us abreast of some of the weather that they're seeing moving through the metro area there. So, Jeb, I don't know if you want to pop back over there. It looks like we might also have a new feed that's coming in here. Okay, we're going to go with the new feed that just came in here to the Live Impact News studio. So, looks like Morrow County Sheriff's Office out of Ohio giving an update on a deputy shot and killed while responding to a domestic situation Monday night. Let's listen in now.
Sheriff, first, would you please spell your deputy's last name for us, please? It is S-H-E-R-R-E-R. And tell us what you can tell us about the circumstances of what happened. Was this an ambush? Was there an exchange verbally between the suspect and your deputy?
So I'm going to defer to Delaware County for all that. They're investigating the situation. So, and I believe Tracy Whited is who you could go through. She'll be able to arrange that for you.
Was he alone? Were there other deputies on scene? Do you know?
Well, I mean, once again, I mean, it's still under investigation, and you know, I've asked them to look into it for us. So I'll defer to them for any questions that have to do with that.
Can you tell us about the deputy and his impact that he's left on the sheriff's department?
You know. I don't even know what to say. I mean, I'll call him a kid. You know, I mean, he wasn't. He was 31 years old. He was a grown man. Always had a smile on his face. Never in a bad mood. He came to work every day. He loved this community. He loved the job. And it's unfortunate that we're here today to talk about this.
What are the next steps here at the sheriff's office? How do you guys, put on your hats and go out to work today?
That's just what we have to do. You know, it's what he would want us to do, I think.
Sheriff, any particular history with this suspect, and is it protocol to have maybe 2 officers or 2 deputies go to a domestic violence call?
I don't know of any current call history. I didn't look into that. You know, any time there's a domestic situation, you know, I mean, or at least 2, you know, and we did have 3 working yesterday, so, which is normal for a holiday. So
When we're talking about domestic violence, we've seen an increase in Franklin County specifically, really around central Ohio. Is that something that you guys are seeing an issue with here as well?
You know, it's one of our, it's always one of our biggest call volumes is a domestic situation. So, I mean, it's, whether it was an increase or not, I'm not sure. I'd have to look at, you know, current statistics and past statistics to be able to tell you for sure, but it's one of the more common calls here in the county.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your deputy? Is this his first job? Where did he come from?
Yeah, I mean, it was his first law enforcement job. So, you know, like I said, we hired him in 2021, and you know, he was a godsend for this sheriff's office, this community, in this county. Pardon?
He grew up around here?
No, he did not.
I can imagine it's been an extremely hard night for you and everybody who's a part of the sheriff's office. Can you describe just kind of how everybody is feeling right now following?
Usually on time.
Good morning, Sheriff.
Good morning. So.
All right, folks, looks like we're having issues with this feed here. The very latest, we'll just kind of recap it quickly here. Morrow County, Ohio, there was a domestic situation Monday night. Deputy responding to that, sadly, shot and killed. They've now identified that deputy. He's 31-year-old Daniel Scherer. He's a 4-year veteran with the agency. Sadly, he passed away from his injuries. He made it to the hospital, but died shortly after. There's a suspect now, 53-year-old Brian Michael Wilson. He was shot. He went to the hospital in serious condition. As we get more information, as we get our feedback here, we'll take you there. Meantime, we want to turn back to Atlanta. It looks like our team out in the metro area continuing to cover severe weather impacts. Let's send you back there with meteorologist Chris Holcomb.
9 o'clock. But I actually think they'll be taking out some of these western counties in just a little while after that main line moves on through. But that severe thunderstorm watch is in effect here until 9 o'clock. And again, we think that they'll be taking out some of those western counties. And it does not include downtown Atlanta. It does not include Fulton. It does not include Douglas. Does not include DeKalb or Rockdale or over into Newton County. But it does include those areas to the south. It includes Carroll. It includes Hurd. It includes Troup, Coweta, Meriwether, Upson, Pike, Lamar, Clayton County and Fayette County. Clayton and Fayette here. Henry County, Spalding, Butts, also over toward Jasper County and Putnam County, and Greene County is not included in that. Hancock County is. That down to the south, including Baldwin County near Milledgeville. All that down to the south toward Macon and south of Macon is where we have the severe thunderstorm watch. In North Georgia, north of I-20, is not included in that watch. Even though you see those storms to the west of us coming in, North Georgia is not included in that. And I want to explain to you why North and East Georgia is not included in the severe thunderstorm watch. That has to do, well, and I also want to show you the outlook map for today that shows these areas where we have the level 2 risk south of the city, level 1 risk north of the city, and then far north Georgia doesn't have any risk areas at all. The reason is because north of I-20, and especially here in northeast Georgia, the temperatures are much cooler, okay? So now that you've seen this, I want to show you why those severe threats are higher on the south side, because I want to show you what we see with the temperatures right now. And the green along I-20 and north indicates the cooler air. As you get into the yellows and oranges down to the south, that is the warmer air. So that those green colors, the cooler temperatures, are thanks to our a northeast wind that's coming in at the surface. Gainesville is 60 degrees right now. So if you got in your car in Gainesville, you may have a light jacket or long pants on. If you're driving through Atlanta, it warms up a little bit to 68, and then south of Atlanta, going down 85, it gets to 72 there as you get closer to Coweta County, not too far off from Peachtree City, and then LaGrange is 81. So where we have that warmer air on the south side, that's where the atmosphere is a little bit more conducive to bubbling up some of those severe thunderstorms there on the south side. That's why the severe thunderstorm watch is in effect south of I-20, but not in North 20. Even though that rain coming into West Georgia, north of I-20, can be strong, and the storms could be strong, we think they're going to weaken a little bit more as they move into that wedge of cooler air there up toward Duluth and up toward Gainesville. Canton, you're only at 60 degrees as well. So that is those are just some of the dynamics that we're watching with this line of storms coming in. Just because you see a line coming in from Alabama doesn't mean it's going to hold together. And this is an example of why that line we think will weaken. It's going to move into that cooler air, and it's just going to make the severity of the system or the strength of the system really start to come down just a little bit more. But on the south side, it does have the warmer air that can kind of feed that with the potential for some stronger storms still existing on the south side. So let's go back to radar, and we'll be able to see if there are any new developments here with these storms. And it still looks impressive. Is that the same? Yeah, they have it still included there, that little bit of South Fulton. I just didn't know if they had moved it over a little bit, but it's still pretty much in the same area there. This would be the time frame, though, with that severe thunderstorm warning. If they are going to issue another one, I would think they would do that pretty soon, because we're seeing here this leading edge of those strong storms about to move. Oh,
they're about to issue a tornado warning for Coweta.
Okay, we're about to have a tornado warning for Coweta County. Let's look. Okay, let's go on air now.
It says quick spin up in Coweta, northwestern.
Okay. For those of you on streaming, stand by. We're about to do a cut in on 11 Alive. We are back with you right now live on 11 Alive. We have been streaming, watching these showers and storms move through. We're breaking back in right now as we are anticipating a tornado warning to come up right now in Coweta County near the Noonan area. As we have this line of storms moving in, I'm going to get a little bit tighter here to Noonan. We expect at any moment now we may have a tornado warning that is about to show up here at Polygon. There we go, right there. This is why we broke in, to be ahead of this storm system before they issue this tornado warning. But we have potential rotation right now near Noonan, and we have our tower cam. If you guys want to put up the Noonan tower cam as well, this is near Noonan, potential circulation right there, just to the north of the Noonan area, where we have this polygon that's moving up to the north and east. This area of rain and storms will be pushing through Peachtree City up to near Tyrone.
Crossing I-85.
It's crossing 85 right now, where we have this potential area of rotation. Let me show you a couple of things. Let's look at velocity right here. This again is really close to the radar site, so it's hard to pick out that classic red and green there, but this is where we're watching right here at Lake Hills. So Noonan is right here. This is just a little bit to the east of the Noonan area where we have this potential rotation right there at Lake Hills. This is Herring Road. This is where that rotation is or has just moved over. Here is 85. I don't know if we have any tower cams there along 85 just north and east of the Noonan area. And this is where we would have here this potential rotation at Herring Road about to cross over 85, where again the National Weather Service is issuing a tornado warning for that area. I want to look at our shear marker right there, and that is also indicating right there at Herring Road along 85. This is our storm rotation. We're able to zoom into this to show you where we see our radar indicating that potential rotation crossing over 85 right now. So Shenandoah Boulevard, there along Highway 34, crossing 85 right now on the south side. This is where we have, this is why we're breaking into programming right now for a potential rotation there that is on crossing over 85. The camera you see right here is it's State Route 34, okay? So that is the area that's right there. So it's 85 and 34 is this camera right there. You're seeing folks still moving down the road, a lot of heavy rain coming down, visibility is lowered somewhat, but this is at 85 and 34 right here where we have that potential rotation. That is the camera that you're watching. I don't know if they would have another one, maybe a little bit north of 34 possible.
Reams, if you G.1231 in Coweta County, it's I-85 north at Highway 29.
Okay, so that's another one of the tower cams we're going to try to get up there on 85. Where we're seeing 34 and 85 might be just a little bit south of this potential rotation. We're going to put up another one there on 85. Again, you can see Noonan right here. The area of rotation is now just a little bit to the east of the Noonan area. I want to look at our correlation coefficient, and what we look for with this, not this part here, but we look back within the storm here. This the changes in colors might be a little bit of an indicator of some lofted debris briefly there. That all just kind of dissipated a little bit. But what you're doing when we're on live here, tracking these storms with you, Danielle and I are analyzing this on the fly with you while we are on the air. So that's why we're kind of looking at those debris signatures as well as our velocity mode. It would be in this area again right here crossing over 85 where we have that potential rotation right now. That red polygon indicating where we have this tornado warning, and I want to widen out a little bit more here. This tornado warning here extends over almost to Fayetteville. So if you are in this red polygon up to Tyrone into Peachtree City, what's interesting here is our National Weather Service office is in Peachtree City, and I don't know if they're going to have to take cover there depending on how this system holds together, but it's this part right here where we're watching that potential rotation move over to the east. That would take it along Highway 74. There's Highway 34 off 85 that we showed you in that tower cam, and then 34 goes up this direction. We have Highway 74 here around Peachtree City, and then 54 closer to Fayetteville. If you're in any of these areas between where we were just showing you up to Tyrone, to Peachtree City, to Fayetteville, I want you to be in your tornado safe position. You need to be in the downstairs part of your home, the lowest floor of your home. Make sure you put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Also, if you have a basement, the best place to be is in a basement. This is not a confirmed tornado, but it is radar indicated. We were seeing a little bit of a debris signature on this a moment ago. We were seeing some velocity with it. And Danielle, what you are seeing from the National Weather Service, them talking about it crossing over 85, were there any visible indications there?
Not
what
yet.
The Weather Service was saying? Okay, so we're waiting for that. We have the cameras there.
There is a report that Highway 34 in Industrial Park says he saw the tornado, but that's just speculation.
So getting some people saying they think they saw a tornado there, but again, a lot of people see dark clouds and might be, it's not a confirmed or a confirmation of an actual tornado there. So we're seeing these new scans coming in, and we still are holding on to this tornado warning there. This circulation now would be a little bit closer to the Thomas Crossroad area. It's now moving east and away from 85, so it's already crossed over. Again, if it was on the ground, there's no confirmation that it was on the ground, but the storm indicating the rotation is now east of 85. So here's 85 right here. We're seeing around Sullivan Road there, and Thomas Crossroads is the next place it would be going. Long Street is right here. There's Highway 154. This is the area right here where we would see that potential rotation about to move into the Thomas Crossroads area. And then next it would be Highway 74 here. This is Minix Road. We have Fisher Road here, and then there's Peachtree City. So this is just to the west of Peachtree City, where we have this potential rotation right there at Thomas Crossroads. This storm has a history of producing these radar indicated signatures with it. We were watching these coming out of Alabama, crossing over the state line into West Georgia. We had 2 tornado warnings earlier in Carroll County, but those looked to be, if they were actual tornadoes, brief spin-ups, because the Weather Service was actually able to cancel those warnings 15 minutes before they were supposed to expire, because we just saw the rotation within that on radar dissipate. So what we're watching, whether or not this is going to be a brief spin up or not, again near Thomas Crossroads, moving now pretty much over 154. So Long Street down to the south of you, Thomas Crossroads here going up to the north along 154, and then this is Highway 54 right here. So it's pretty much moving, if this is actually on the ground, it would be moving right along 54 there near Thomas Crossroads, continuing to push over to the east. I'll put a track on this for you on that area that we're watching, and I want to get the actual speed of it right now. And that is going to the east at 35 miles an hour. So I'm going to put a track on this. Go ahead. Go ahead, Danielle.
On Max 3, I have that camera at I-85 North. I say I-85 North at 29, Chris, because the storm rotation is still, if you go to your storm rotation, you can see it still kind of progressing along the way. Okay, and then also I noticed we have our weather impact tracker right here. They're on 85 near Noonan, in that area. Well, close they need to get into a safe place. So, but it's east of 85 now, the main circulation, unless you're seeing something new. Yes, if you go to your storm rotation, it looks like there's still some rotation kind of. Yes, okay. A couple of clusters there. Yes. So near that's with Madras and Major. Okay. Near Madras and Major here along Highway 29. This is what Danielle was pointing out here, saying that on Max 3, we have a camera right there on 85 and 29. Is that correct? Yes. What you're saying right there, where we have this new rotation. So for our folks, okay, this is Max 3, where we have 85 at US 29. Again, looking there in Coweta County, just keeping an eye on these cameras to see if we can see any type of rotation developing out there. It looks like it just kind of froze up there for a second. But this is where, in that area of suspicious rotation that we're seeing potentially there on radar. And again, and it could be rain wrapped with all this. Exactly. That often happens with some storms like this. So tell our crew, if they tell them to get off at the next exit just to take cover for a moment, because they're in an area close to where we see this potential rotation, to get, I don't know if they can hear me or not, just to get off at the next exit. In fact, if they can hear me, tell them I'd love to talk with them. I'm not sure if we can actually get them live or not. Okay, I see they're getting off the exit there to just to kind of be off the exit
I would prefer that they be safe there because they're along that part near 85 where we are seeing potential rotation there. And then we'll get back to them in a moment. Just I want to make sure that they are safe from this rotation. There are a couple of areas where we're watching.
A tornado warning downstream.
A little bit more to the east here.
Yes.
Okay, let's get back to this area that we're watching. Okay, so they did extend that out. It's now a little bit to the east of that area, still including Tyrone, still including Peachtree City. Now this goes over toward Fayetteville for this tornado warning in effect coming out of Coweta County. So in Noonan, along Highway 29, you are no longer in that polygon. The potential rotation that we've been indicating here on radar is no longer in the Noonan area. It is to the east of Noonan, right in this area here along Highway 154.
Folks who are just joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, Vanessa Rufus here. You've been watching some of our coverage from Atlanta, Georgia, some severe weather impacts in the metro area. We've got a tornado warning that those crews over there are following in Fayette County and Coweta County. That's going to last until 3:45. Also, severe thunderstorm warning for Fayette, Meriwether, Coweta, and Clayton counties until that same time frame. We also know that there's a ground stop that's been issued at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta Airport. That's until 3:30. Very important to note, one of the busiest airports in the entire world, so anytime things slow down there, that's never a good thing. We'll be keeping an eye on any potential impacts here to the Carolinas, but we will say as far as the weather front here, our weather impact team has basically gotten us on alert to be prepared for a dreary, rainy day, a cooler day, but it doesn't look like we might need to prepare for any severe weather impacts in our neck of the woods. With that, we'll send you back to meteorologist Chris Holcomb, giving us coverage from Atlanta, Georgia of this tornado warning and thunderstorm warning.
There could be multiple vortices within that storm, and we're seeing the multiple areas on our debris tracker or storm rotation of that happening. So along 154, Reams, what was that? Okay, Highway 154 at Raymond Hill is this camera right here. That's in Coweta County, with the heavy rain that continues to come down. Here in Noonan, again, that's the city of Noonan, downtown. The worst of it, you're still getting some rain in Coweta County, but the severe part of this, or the tornadic or rotation part of this, is to the east of you right now, but this camera is kind of shooting toward the north and east, so we can still keep an eye there over to the west. Here again is that area of rotation that we're watching. Let's go back to the shear markers. And both of those, this should be updating here again soon, where we're seeing the blue, lighter blue coming out a little bit more, giving us a little bit more of an indicator of potential rotation still there along 85. So this is nearing Peachtree City. Are they saying in Peachtree City any concerns about them having to take cover?
Folks, we will continue to monitor this severe weather coverage out of Atlanta, Georgia in the background. Meantime, we want to send you to a brand new feed that's just popped into our Live Impact News studio. Looks like we've got the governor of Mississippi, Tate Reeves, releasing some remarks here on a special session that's being called to adopt the fiscal year 2026 budget. Let's listen in now here.
Been those on big infrastructure projects. Now, if you want to get up to let's talk about how we can put $1 billion, $1.5 billion, or if you want to talk about here's how we're going to do a recurring revenue stream, whether it is off the lottery fund proceeds or off some new revenue stream, such as sports betting, then that's a conversation that is worth having and worthwhile, because you can put $100 million a year in recurring revenue over a 30-year period reduces the unfunded liability by $3.5 to $5 billion because it's over long periods of time. So it's a long-winded answer to your question.
Yes, sir. You mentioned that the Constitution requires individual appropriations bills, and that leads to about 100 or more individual appropriations bills. With that being said, you're giving this call now. The legislature will go into special session tomorrow. Do you think that is enough time for legislators to look at, review that 100 plus bills? Not saying that anyone is doing anything malevolent, just humans can make honest mistakes. And just do you think there's enough time to look at those bills?
Yeah, no, I think that there is enough time to look at those bills. The reality is that that the rank and file members of the legislature will have an opportunity. What I would presume will happen is that they will, the Appropriations Committee chairman or their equivalents or their vice chairman or their, I think in the House now there are 4 or 5 different appropriations committees. So I would presume that what you will see is conversations where the overall budget is explained to any individual member that is interested, and if they have any questions on any particular bill, they'll have the ability to ask those questions. That is the process. You know, I do find it interesting that some members of the opposite party that is not in control spend a lot of time in these special sessions talking about their desire to read the bills, and I presume they want us to believe that they read every general bill that they vote on in the regular session. I don't know that that is necessarily the case, but I do think that every member is entitled to be able to look at what does the overall budget look like, and what is and when I was Lieutenant Governor, when I had a little bit more control over that, we certainly had spreadsheets that we made sure that everyone had. But you know, I think that there should be ample opportunities for questions and for conversations, and I'm sure that the leadership in the House and the Senate will be committed to that. Yes, sir.
Just a quick question about MDOC. There was a bipartisan House bill that would have empowered, it died in conference, that would have empowered the Department of Health to conduct an audit over the provision of medical care in prisons around the state. Entering this special session, do you think that's an audit the state should fund? Would you be in favor of that?
I'll be honest with you. The regular session was over in early April. We have reviewed probably 300, 400 bills that actually passed the legislature. We have reviewed about 100 plus appropriation bills, and so I'm not familiar with the bills that didn't pass. That didn't pass the legislature, and so I really probably couldn't comment on that because I don't know all the details. But I will say this. I've made this offer publicly before. I make it privately regularly. You know, I tell my friends in the Lieutenant Governor's office and the Speaker's office when they have a problem with something going on at the Department of Corrections, that if they would like to sponsor a bill to move the management of corrections to the Lieutenant Governor's office, I'd probably support it. If they wanted to produce a bill, a general bill, to move the management of the Department of Corrections to the Speaker's office, I'd probably support it. And now I say that jokingly. Look, running a lot of these state agencies is challenging. It's difficult. It is not without daily challenges, and corrections probably as much as any other agency. I am proud of the work that we've done at corrections. You may recall, I'm not sure if you were here yet or not, but you may recall when I came into office in January of 2020, we inherited a situation at the Department of Corrections that was really, really challenging, where there were quite a few deaths that occurred, specifically at Parchman, and while we certainly are not perfect as to where we have the management of the agency today, I am proud of the progress that we've made. And just as an example, you don't have to look further than New Orleans to see what happened there within the last 3 or 4 weeks, with I think a dozen inmates escaping from, I think it was the Jefferson Parish jail, if I remember correctly. So look, these are challenging issues, and so we're certainly, we work with the Corrections Committee chairman in the House and the Senate regularly, and we're going to continue to work with them. Any other questions? There are 10 people on the live TV and no questions from them. So usually I can see when they raise their little hand. It's always funny. So look, I know that there's this budget special session tomorrow. Certainly it does not meet everyone's timeline, does not meet the schedule that is perfect for every member of the legislature, and I realize that. It's the reason I gave everyone a heads up late last week that as soon as we have the opportunity to review what should be in the $7.135 billion budget, that we would call it as quickly as possible, and that's why I had a good conversation with both the Speaker and the Lieutenant Governor last Friday to let them know to alert their members, which I'm confident that they did. And so we should be able to come in tomorrow at 11. And, obviously there's nothing that precludes them from coming in earlier and having conversations. They can't take official action until 11. But if individual members wanted to, if they had questions or whatnot, they could certainly work with their leadership in their appropriation committees to answer those questions. So, again, I'm hopeful that it goes very quickly. We have taken a lot of time and effort and a lot of work to get to this point, but we are funding the core functions of government at a level that I am confident that there will certainly be challenges, but I'm confident that we can do what we need to do. So with that, thank you all very much for being here, and have a fantastic Tuesday, and I guess the stories will write themselves for y'all over the next few days. Thank you all.
Okay, so you heard there from the governor in Mississippi as he announces a special session to try to get a budget passed for the next fiscal year. A little bit of context. There's disagreements among leadership in the House and in the Senate about how they're going to get everything funded here. And obviously with fiscal year coming up July 1st, they have to have a budget passed. Otherwise, they do face essentially a government shutdown in the state of Mississippi. So we'll keep you posted as we learn more about that. Meantime, we do want to send you back to Atlanta, Georgia. As we mentioned, they are keeping an eye on various warnings. At last check, we had a couple of them that were set to go for at least the next 15 minutes or so. So let's listen in here to meteorologist Chris Holcomb giving us updates on the weather impacting the metro Atlanta area.
Pretty much what we're getting. They're brief spin-ups with rotation indicated by radar, signaling a tornado warning, and then it just doesn't live a long time. And it's just a brief spin up that happens there. Those can still cause damage. We don't have any reports of any damage yet, but this line that's moving in has a history of doing just that, producing these brief spin up tornadoes here. Let's go back to a bigger picture here, and I want to give you perspective of what we're watching. Here in Atlanta, the storms are not here yet, but they are getting closer. That line that is strongest is here where we have the severe thunderstorm warning for those areas of Coweta, Fayette, parts of Clayton County. This would be moving into Spalding County next and then into Henry County. Again, no tornado warning is still in effect there. It also includes the northern parts of Meriwether County where we have the severe thunderstorm warning. Let me put the expiration time on here for that severe thunderstorm warning so you can kind of get an idea there as that continues moving up toward the moving over toward the east. It expires at 3:45. So this severe thunderstorm warning will be in effect for another a little bit less than 15 minutes, and then we expect we'll have another tier of warnings, possibly again mainly south of I-20, could possibly include Henry County, potentially Spalding County, maybe Pike and Lamar County, maybe making it over into Butts County. But we're just going to see how this holds together. Moving there on the south side, and again, it is the south side that has the warmer air, more of the instability, but it does look like there, Danielle, I almost kind of feel like I see that lightning count shifting more down to the south.
Yeah.
As that continues to move on over to the east. So it could be, again, don't let your guard down, but as I'm telling you, Danielle and I are analyzing this on the fly while we are on the air, where we have these storms moving through and just looking for any indicators of any changes there in intensity or the lightning count. In fact, let me do a quick look at the lightning count right here. We'll go back to live mode. And we're going to widen out just a little bit more here. And we'll kind of do a lightning count on this whole part that goes down to around near the area of LaGrange. We'll include just Georgia. I'll stop there near LaGrange, and that whole line has about 49 lightning strikes in the past 15 minutes, and most of that is south of I-20. There is a little bit of lightning just to the north and east of Rome, into parts of northern Bartow County, southern parts of Whitfield County and Murray County. And then this line approaching Atlanta will give us some really heavy rain coming in on the west side of the perimeter. You'll have some thunder and lightning there, but for now, most of the severe stuff and the strongest stuff is down to the south of I-20, where we have the severe thunderstorm warning that remains in effect, and they have taken away part of that warning, and this is what is left of that right now on those areas on the south side. Still right here, moving through Peachtree City, we have this severe thunderstorm warning right there, just barely touching 85 north of Peachtree City, going into these areas of Fayette County and Clayton County, and stopping right at Henry County, and then down to the south here, down toward the northern parts of Meriwether County. Again, still there, including Fayette County. Does not include Spalding yet. We'll wait and see if the National Weather Service is going to include Henry, Spalding, or Pike and Lamar in just a little bit as the line moves in. But it all just depends on how strong this is as it's holding together. There's a look right now at our weather impact tracker that is, I believe, still in Coweta County. I'm not sure if they turned around or went into a different direction, but it looks like where they are, the rain is not as heavy as it was a little bit earlier. We also have this traffic camera at State Route 54 in the Fayetteville area, where you can see right here the cars are moving along through that intersection, where we do see some pockets of heavy rain that are going to be pushing through or have already pushed through the Fayetteville area right now. So the whole thing that we're watching here is we have to continue keeping an eye on these storms. The ones north of I-20 and about to push in Atlanta are not as strong as they were in East or West Georgia. We did have a severe thunderstorm warning with these storms in parts of Haralson County and also to Polk County as they were crossing over the line. But now, as they're moving in closer to Atlanta, remember what I was telling you about the temperatures here. It is a little cooler. It's not as warm. Temperature in Atlanta right now is 66 degrees. So we have more 70s down to the south, and we've even had some 80s, lower 80s down into LaGrange. Now that rain-cooled air is going to cool them down a little bit more. But as this storm system, as this line moves into that wedge of cooler air, we're watching these storms fall apart a little bit and not be as strong as they were as they pushed on over to the east, but continuing to watch this on the south side, number one, to see if they extend a warning out to include more counties as it moves to the east. Also, because this part of the storm that's moving out of Coweta into Fayette County right now, that is the part of the storm that has had a history of producing some rotation that was indicating radar indicated rotation here from our Doppler radar. So a lot still here to watch, and that's why we're hanging with you on streaming, and we will continue to watch these storms as they push in closer to the city here. So our newscast is coming up at 3:37. I'm sorry, it's 3:37 now. Our newscast is coming up at 4. We're getting a little bit better confidence. Danielle, how are you feeling about, and I know we're still seeing a little bit of rotation markers there.
Right, but it's weakening, so it's not as strong. We're not seeing that light blue in the middle of it, so it is weakening. I will say that at Peachtree City, they did just say that they looked back at the radar data, and they can see that there was a possible TDS in Carroll County and in Coweta right before it crossed 85. Okay, so a TDS is a tornado debris signature. Danielle's saying that they've looked back at some of the data, indicating that there was possibly debris signature there, and that was the same part that we were pointing out there on our debris tracker, like Thomas Crossroads, and back
over in that area. So we're going to be getting some more data coming in on that, but this is what we're talking about around Peachtree City. Still maybe a little bit of weak rotation there as it goes through these areas of Fayette County now approaching Fayetteville. But again, not enough of a rotation for the National Weather Service to issue a new warning. And it looks like, as Danielle was saying, when this was up here along 85, we had some of the lighter blue colors with it. And that was showing us that maybe that rotation was getting a little stronger. Now, not only is this marker shrinking up, but it's also the dark blue, which is a very small area of potential rotation as it came through. Danielle, do you have the historical track right there? Let Danielle show that real quick, that area that was up near McCollum.
So this is the historical track, our rotation tracks of where the rotation was in the storm as it continued to develop. Now, the area that they're saying is before it crossed 85. So really, right near McCollum, this is right where we were talking about. If you remember, I said the camera at 85 and Highway 29. This is exactly where we could have possibly seen the strongest of the rotation in that tornado warning at that time. We also saw a brief signature on some of our debris finder, but as of right now, it looks like that will probably be the place. So if you are traveling that area, and I'll zoom in just a little bit too, you want to make sure that you use caution just in case there could be some trees down. What happens is, especially when it's raining this hard outside, it could be rain wrapped, it's cloudy, you can never really tell. So the only thing that they'll have to go by is damage. So you could be seeing some trees down, maybe some shingles off the house, maybe even some roofing damage. So these are things that you want to make sure that you are using caution. So if you live in Arbor Springs Plantation Drive, even near Fisher and in Major, Raymond Hill Road, right before I-85, this is where we could have possibly seen a tornado. So they're going to have to go out and they're going to have to survey it just like they have been doing for the past storms to get the latest information on that. But Chris, right now, that is probably the only place as far as the rotation tracks are that I can see. Maybe that's exactly what they were talking about for that brief TDS.
All right, Danielle, thank you for that update on that. In fact, guys in the control room, if y'all want to tell our folks in our weather vehicle if they want to go to the McCollum area, they might find some damage there. So what we're going to do right now, as we've seen that rotation marker really start to dissipate, and now that we still don't have a tornado warning, it's been a while since we've had an active tornado warning on the south side. We still have the severe thunderstorm warning here on the south side for those areas of Fayette County, parts of Coweta, parts of Clayton County, all right here. This is going to still be in effect until we get to the time frame of 3:45. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to hang with you. We're going to hang with you until 3:45 to make sure they don't issue any additional warnings on that. We're feeling a little more confident that we can take you back to our regularly scheduled programming. We'll do a little reset here. Danielle and I will continue streaming on 11 Alive Plus, and then we'll have our newscast coming up at 4 o'clock. And guys in the control room, confirm that with the managers that plan is okay. Or if they want us to extend to 4, we can. It's just if they want us to go to 4, we can, as we keep tracking that. But as far as the threat level has come down a little bit more, and we're not seeing the rotation within these storms anymore, and I'm starting to feel a little more comfortable, especially since we're seeing those shear markers kind of going away with this, and we think that it's beginning that weakening trend just a little bit more even on the south side, and these storms on the north side are also we're going to get some good rain coming in on the north side. We've got heavy rain in Rome along 75 there, in parts of Cobb County, about to cross over toward Roswell. Okay, we're going to stay up until 47 for another 5 minutes here. And we'll keep watching that part coming in now on the west side of the perimeter. And Danielle, don't have my tower cams up. If we want to put Truist, if you can, in 58. And I want to go back here. While you're doing that, I want to go back to the airport to show what we're watching there at Hartsfield Jackson, where we do have the ground stop. And look at that visibility. Look at those clouds right now at Hartsfield Jackson. There are a couple of planes taxiing on the runway, and there's one taking off. It looks like right here that's about to take off. It could be that the landing arriving flights are not able potentially to arrive as these storms come through, but I know the folks at Hartsfield are watching. Go ahead.
Because of the wind shear sometimes.
With the wind shear?
Yeah. And landing's difficult.
Danielle, very experienced in air traffic, as she used to work at an airline and used to be on those planes when all of these delays would be being issued there. But there again is Hartsfield Jackson, and that ground stop was extended, I think you said, until 4:15 at least. So we'll keep an eye on that at Hartsfield Jackson.
Also, if they had taxied out already, then they were going to be able to take off. it's really just for when you land, you can't get the bags off because, like you said, they have to watch out for those ground crews and things of that nature. I did put Truist in 58.
Okay. All right. I am still seeing.
What are you seeing? I don't know what's going on.
Okay, we'll figure it out. But Truist will be showing us a good view of that line of storms as it continues to move in. There we go. Wow, so yeah, you see all the heavy rain coming down on Truist Park right now. And that is on the north side of the perimeter there at 75 and 285, where we see this really heavy rain that is coming in over Truist. And this is what is pushing into the perimeter and will be arriving in our area at any time here in the city of Atlanta very quickly. But what that is mainly is heavy rain and some wind coming into Atlanta. It's not anything severe. This warning here, this yellow polygon that you see here, is supposed to expire at 3:45. We are going to hold on here and make sure that does expire, and we'll wait and see if the Weather Service is going to issue another one. Sometimes when this happens, well, what they're doing, it looks like, is issuing a special weather statement now, down line from that. That special weather statement is for Lamar, Upson, and Meriwether. So here's Lamar County, Upson, and Meriwether. So that's because of this right here, issuing what they call a special weather statement, where it's not an indicator of a severe storm. Winds are more like 40 to 50 miles an hour, rather than severe storms, which would be 57, 58 miles an hour or greater, or hail an inch in diameter. So we have a special statement here. What's going to be interesting to see is if they issue a new warning or a special statement for Spalding, Henry County, or for those areas along 75 there. Okay, so that polygon just disappeared. So we have less than a minute here to go as we're going to take you back to our programming. We're going to reset, get ready for our 4 o'clock newscast, and from that we'll determine whether or not we need to hold on until the newscast to talk more about this. But as of right now, they have not issued a new warning along this line. That is the one that has had the history of producing not only the strongest winds, the heaviest rain, also that is where we have had that area where we've had the rotation that has been developing too. And so far, the rotation markers have been dissipating. The severe thunderstorm warning just expired. So what we're going to do is take you back to our regularly scheduled program. Jennifer Hudson, you'll be able to see the last 14 minutes of that. Then we'll have more with you coming up at the top of the hour. If you want more weather information, stay with us, and we'll keep streaming from our streaming studio right here on 11 Alive Plus.
Okay, folks who are just tuning in here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, we've been watching continuous coverage from our crews in the metro Atlanta area. This is a weather impact day for them. For some perspective, we've mentioned this before here on the stream today. In the Carolinas, looks like we are mainly set up to deal with a cold and dreary and rainy day. Looks like maybe severe weather not set to impact us, even though, as you can see from a live look at this radar, that system does seem to be generally moving in our direction. A quick update on the tornado warning we were seeing earlier in Atlanta. That actually expired earlier than expected for Fayette and Coweta counties. The ground stop at Hartsville-Jackson, however, has been extended until 4:15. They still have severe thunderstorm warning in the area, and we've also been told that until 10 p.m. the metro Atlanta area is going to be under a weather impact alert. So we'll listen back in here to our crews covering the severe weather day for Atlanta. And of course, anything big and breaking will pop back in here on Live Impact News. looks like some of this continuous coverage is wrapping up out of Atlanta. We'll pop back in as needed. Keep in mind this could be a busy evening for them as they are under an alert through 10 p.m. today. Meantime, we'll take you over to a meeting from earlier. This is Defense Secretary Hegseth meeting with Polish Deputy Prime Minister and the Defense Minister, and a meeting where we saw Mr. Hegseth thanking Poland for their support. Let's listen in now to this earlier meeting.
Well, Mr. Deputy Prime Minister, it is great to see you again. Our first overseas trip as Secretary of Defense was to Poland. Had the opportunity to have dinner at the palace with you and your wonderful wife, Paulina. Give her my best. You were such a great host to us, and so it's time for us to return the favor here at the Pentagon. So welcome on behalf of our team, many of which were not yet on our team when I saw you in February. So get a chance to have you introduce and meet a lot of our great folks. The relationship between the United States and Poland is rock solid. Both countries demonstrate peace through strength. President Trump also sends his regards and appreciation for all Polish leadership and the Polish people do. A model ally for the United States there on the eastern flank of NATO, and we're going to be encouraging 5%. We don't have to encourage Poland. You are almost there already, leading the way on investment in Europe's largest land army, modernizing that force, and the defense industrial base, which is critically important, not just obviously here in the United States, but in Europe as well. Your country in incredible and important ways apply common sense. You apply combat credible forces and a willingness to defend your own homeland, and a recognition of defense of your borders and your people is first and foremost, which is something President Trump has reestablished here in the United States as well. So I want to also and finally thank you for your great support of U.S. troops. 8,000 stationed rotationally and some permanently in Poland. I had a chance to talk to our troops there, and they could not be more grateful for the reception and the support that they receive, which is ongoing, not just financially, but in sort of the political and populist support for American troops. That partnership is as strong today as it's ever been. And so from the leadership of the United States, from President Trump, from the Defense Department, thank you for that support. Our close partnership, we're as close now as we've ever been, and we look forward to getting closer. And we welcome you here to the Pentagon. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Secretary. I'm very glad to be here in Washington, D.C. today and to continue our productive dialogue. We have reached a pivotal moment in the history of enduring alliance between Poland and the United States. Strong Polish-American relations are reflected in many recent meetings on various political and military levels in today's rapidly changing world.
All right, Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We've added a new feed for you to take a look at. Bottom right corner of your screen, live look at the big board. We've got the Dow Jones up more than 700 points on the day. We did see a rally across major indexes today. Following news from over the holiday weekend, President Trump announced that he is agreeing to delay tariffs on the European Union, the 50% tariffs. So we know that in recent weeks, investors have been very keen on any sort of trade or tariff discussions and how things might be looking, whether there's optimism on that front. That seems to drive the markets up, and we're seeing that is the case today. For a little bit of backstory, President said Sunday he's pushing back that 50% levy deadline to July 9th. And this was the proposal, a backtrack on the proposal that start on June 1st. So once again, that's June 9th now when that new deadline is set to begin. We'll keep an eye on this, of course, as we're getting closer to the closing bell. And in the meantime, we'll listen in full again to Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's meeting with Polish leadership.
We recognize a significant development potential and mutual benefits arising from further development towards supporting Polish-American joint venture initiatives and service capabilities such as maintenance, repair, and overhaul. We are grateful for the U.S. military presence in Poland, through the deployment of troops and the most advanced weapon systems, because it's a real contribution to strengthening our territory and our borders. this vital commitment provides Polish society with a strong sense of security and serves as an effective deterrence. Mr. Secretary, I'm confident that we share the same value and the same goals. Together we want to leverage our partnership on the next level and continue strengthening our enduring economic and military ties. Based on common experience, we see the importance of further cooperation not only in the areas of security, but also in the fields of development, research, and the new technologies. An example of which will be the participation of Polish astronaut Sławomir Znański in the American space mission. The great statesman Abraham Lincoln said, "The dogmas of quiet paths are inadequate to the stormy present. I'm confident that together with the United States of America, we can overcome every challenge and confront every threat." Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Thank you, America.
Secretary, very well said. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Okay, just a bit of the Defense Secretary's meeting with Polish leadership there, as we mentioned before, Secretary Hegseth thanking them for their support and their partnership with the United States. We want to pivot now to some weather updates, because of course, throughout this hour here on Live Impact News, we've been showing you some of the weather impacts that they're dealing with in the metro Atlanta area. Obviously, they've been dealing with some tornado warnings, some thunderstorm warnings, and we told you that they are going to be alert to potential impacts through 10 o'clock this evening. We also saw, look at that radar coming this way. It seems to be that system is making its way closer to us, but we are not necessarily on alert for severe weather, which is a good thing, but certainly expected to be a rainy rest of the day. Let's listen into this report from meteorologist Becca Birdsall, letting us know what to expect for the rest of this Tuesday.
Good Tuesday afternoon. Today is going to be a soaker from start to finish with a round of rain and drizzle throughout your afternoon and evening, with another band of showers coming through later on tonight. It's also going to be a cool day. Highs likely only making it into the upper 50s to lower 60s, with storms not in today's forecast. So here's our setup right now. We've got this high pressure system sitting up to the northeast, and this is what's called the Carolina wedge. So the clockwise winds of this are bringing in all of this moisture and just locking us in with clouds, cool air, and moisture. Now you notice this is also combined with this low pressure system off to the west, bringing in lots of warm and moist air from the south. This low pressure system will eventually push off to the northeast. As it does so, it's going to lift up a warm front and eventually erode our wedge by tomorrow afternoon and evening. We already reached our high temperature for today, likely just after midnight. It was 61 degrees, and we were very close, 1 degree shy of tying that record cold high temperature of 60 degrees back in 1901. That is a century-old record that we did not tie. And temperatures will stay in the 50s throughout the day for today, with clouds and again rounds of showers and portions of drizzle as well. Hour by hour forecast for tomorrow is likely going to start off damp with areas of patchy dense fog and definitely the low clouds that we've been seeing all day long. But as that wedge begins to erode, some sunshine may try and break out close to around 5-6 o'clock. High temperatures will be warmer as that warm front lifts, middle 70s across much of the metro, with a chance for a few isolated downpours during the afternoon and evening hours. So let's time out these rain chances for you for the rest of today. Again, areas of showers and drizzle, that's what can be expected today all the way through the evening hours. Then later on tonight, this is a look at 9 o'clock, we start to see that heavier bands of rain start to move in across the metro, eventually pushing all across the area with widespread rain through early Wednesday morning. By around daybreak, though, that rainfall activity has pulled off to the east, again starting off damp with areas of patchy dense fog, but we start to see a little bit of sunshine break out towards the second half of the day, and this may only happen close to around 5-6 o'clock like I mentioned. As it does so, once we get a little bit of that instability and daytime heating, a couple of thunderstorms will be possible, but only a few of us will get it on them. Better chance to see more widespread scattered showers and thunderstorms in the forecast for Thursday and into Friday as that next cold front really starts to approach across the area. So Wednesday really is the day where we do have the potential to see a couple of thunderstorms, some of which could be stronger, containing some strong to damaging wind gusts, mainly upwards of 40 miles per hour, but also heavy rainfall and frequent lightning, of course, will probably be the main threats with this system. Rain chances are the highest for today. They go down to about a 20% chance during the afternoon and evening on Wednesday. Then by Thursday and Friday, we slowly start to increase those rain chances, especially towards the end of the work week as that